now entering the Bass Galaxy.
This is Teal's Bass Galaxy. I'm your host. This podcast is about raw, real conversations with real awesome people about bass fishing, bass boats, and heck, there are no limits in the galaxy. Attention all Bastronauts. This podcast is supported by the Bass Galaxy's title sponsor, Waypoint Angler Supply, the Midwest's new landing pad for hardcore anglers just like you and me. If you're looking for the sneaky goods you can't find anywhere else, look no further. Waypoint Angler Supply has the largest offering of JDM tackle in the Midwest, and they are right here in Minnesota on Lake Minnetonka. This is truly a place every bass fisherman in Minnesota needs to visit because we finally have a tackle shop in the state that's as dreamy as the ones you find down south. And the staff at Waypoint Angler Supply understands the various needs of us anglers, which is why you'll find the selection there so enticing. Ross and the folks at Waypoint Angler Supply are passionate about carrying the right stuff, providing an authentic customer experience, and they listen to the anglers. And it doesn't end at JDM baits. They stock all the top U.S. brands, as well as local Minnesota brands like Veselka Fishing and Customs, Arsenal Fishing, Bait Lab Custom Swim Baits, All Terrain Tackle, Bagley Northland, Outcast Tackle, and more. So stop into their store on Lake Minnetonka or visit their website, waypointanglersupply.com. That's waypointanglersupply.com. Use the code GALAXY20 to save 20% on your next tackle binge. Today's guests are three awesome dudes. Starting off, we've got a co-host. He's a friend of mine and fellow degenerate, James Chapman. And then we've got Cody Hahner, who's a musky angler / former FLW Pro / smallmouth, big smallmouth whisperer, hailing from Wisconsin. He came all the way over from Wisconsin. And then Adam Bartusek, who's kind of the lead media guy on the Champions Tour for Classic Bass, who films all of that stuff, and also just recently took second in, I think, an MLF deal down on Kentucky Lake with some smallmouth. So welcome, boys. Let's get to this. Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Welcome. Thanks for making the trip out.
Yes.
Everybody was fishing today except me.
Clinky. Clinky.
That's like the first time that can probably ever be said.
For sure. For sure.
You didn't cast off the dock even?
No.
Have you casted off the dock much this spring?
It got boring. You just kept catching them, and then you'd stop catching them, and it's just like, just leave them be. I'll let them get to where they need to go, you know?
Yeah, they're doing their deal.
Yeah, like it's almost like if you own the hunting land and you manage it, and like you have a little more intimate relationship with it versus like hunting on someone else's land, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I feel about the bass in this lake. You know what I mean? I usually let them reproduce, and then I can cuss the fuck out of them. You know what I mean? So, like, I typically don't abuse them in the bedroom, but as soon as they leave the house,
That's a safe space.
like,
Yeah, just
Yeah.
wide open.
and turn around the street corner.
It's like a hot chick. You got to let them reproduce. But once they're done, they've done their job.
Yeah,
Then you
that's
give
fair.
it to them.
It's important to replicate the good genes.
perfect
right,
Aryan.
Right.
Isn't
Exactly.
that
I think that I read
Right.
it in his history book once.
Yeah, I think I read that same history book.
I don't. No,
No.
I didn't read books in school.
That's very surprising.
I mean, when a bass is on a bed, you think about all the commotion around them. You know what I mean? There's no privacy.
It's true.
There's no privacy.
No,
They don't even
You
have
gotta-
walls.
No.
sometimes
just
one
like-
boulder
they don't
that they
give a
just like
shit.
back into, and they're like, all right, it's me and you, boulder.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you got my fucking like my back, and I've got the other 300 degrees. So rock and roll.
Dude, that makes me think of sometimes when we've had smallmouth bedded derbies or whatever, and like you go up to one, and one of the my favorite things one's ever done to me is I like pull up to it, and I'm like, oh, there he is, and he like swims up to my boat and just stares me down for a bit, and then like goes back down like he's flexing. He's like, hey, I'm gonna win, and then it's just like. Set the hook and you net him, and you just look at him, and you're like, how'd that go?
Damn.
Just sheepishly looks down.
Yeah. Actually, that was I think I was with Dane when that happened once too. We were just out fishing on Tonka, and one like swam up and just looks at us, and he was like, watch this.
Dude, that's crazy. So, Hahner, you came over from Wisconsin,
I did.
and you hail from thy Wisconsin.
Yes, the Wausau. Yeah.
Wausau.
Wausau.
Where the
Was
flying cheese fuck is Wausau?
It's right in the cheddar.
Right in the cheddar.
Like you put your finger in the smack dab middle of the state. That's where
Got it.
That's where Wausau is.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's like St.
Wausau.
Cloud
It-
of
it's
Wisconsin.
It's kind of the area in
Hopefully not.
Wisconsin where there's no good fishing.
Yeah. I've
Everything.
heard that.
Yeah. That's where I live.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
You love fishing.
Yeah. No. Yeah, that's great.
and
Love
you
it.
grew up there,
I did.
and you
I hail from there.
you hail from.
I was
you
birthed
hail the-
there.
Got it. So there's a flag with a Hahner name in Wausau.
It has since been taken down.
I'd do it again.
Protesters taking down flags.
Yeah. I served my time. We cleaned up the highways.
This is your longest traveled guest, isn't it, Teal?
I
First
think
one
at
out of
this
state.
point, I think yes. Yes.
What an honor.
Yes. I
Traveled
know.
Cody
500
Hahner.
miles.
No,
It's an honor
honestly,
for Hahner.
It's
Really
an honor,
grateful
man.
you guys made the
Hey,
trip and-
zinger.
And it's probably even longer because he's from Wisconsin. He's probably dumb. He didn't even come the straight way.
No, I didn't.
He's probably zigzagged his way over.
Literally, he did.
Well, I had to go to the cheese factory first, and then I had to visit, and it's
Got to pay the
Roundabout
cheese
way.
tax.
yep.
I think the last time I hung out with you was the
Freaking love that
Bassmaster
song.
Classic
Yes.
down in Knoxville
And
at the Costa party, I think, or no, the Evinrude going away party, I think.
Bart said it very correctly.
I don't believe that.
We were on the way here, and I was talking to him. I was like, Teal and JP told me they met you at a classic, and he's like, maybe. And I was like, it might have been one of those experiences where you were physically there and mentally not.
It was pretty late,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I just remember you guys had smashed him, I think, on, or wait, Sobe had smashed him on mag drafts on Chickamauga.
Well,
I think, before that. I don't know if you were with him or not.
He hopped in Cody's boat. Cody
That's how
found
that
that
went
pattern.
down.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
Well, it was blurry for everybody. But
I know.
It was a good time.
It was. It was a good time. It was a great time.
That was my first classic. I had a blast. But like you've had quite a interesting fishing career as far as like I think you fished for multiple species. You fished I think the FLW Pro
I did.
circuit.
I did.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, I do want to dig into a little bit of like where you got started because you grew up in Wausau, which is not near a lot of good fishing lakes. So tell me
Not
how the
necessarily.
hell you ended up getting into this deal.
Well, let me start off by I was a young boy.
Ah,
My
In a
father
place
grew
far,
me.
far away.
And from a young age, as we say.
sure.
I took a turn.
I took it. No, more.
He went down the Musky road.
Then I went down the Musky road. Now, I don't know. Like most people, I just was a kid really interested in fishing. Their parents, supplied, me access to that fishing, and they kind of fed that addiction. And like most of us, we got addicted to it, and it was now become our life and our hobby. And more than a hobby, it's a way of life for us. So I don't know.
Well,
Just,
Cody, you got to tell him how you got into tournaments
how did I get into tournaments?
because you were a Musky guy, and then you were like,
I'm a
You
little
told
I'm a
me.
little foggy from the musky fishing now.
So you just came off a 24-hour muskie.
Yeah, I'm a little foggy. I need beers in me. I haven't had beers in 24 hours. That's kind of I gotta
He's got the
level out here.
shakes.
Is that a thing for
From
Wisconsin?
Wisconsin.
We got to
From
level out here.
Wisconsin.
I'm born in from Wisconsin, so
Give me a
I didn't
Gouda.
know what that was from, but
Give me a nice Gouda.
that's a cheese, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. Well, originally I started musky fishing because I thought I wanted to catch the biggest fish in the lake, and I did not like bass fishing whatsoever. I thought it was lame. I thought bass fishermen were a bunch of pussies. And so I loved musky fish, and throughout high school I musky
Way
fished.
better crowd.
Oh, yeah, totally. The chicks. The groupies.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, the softball team, right?
Right. No.
Babes.
Yeah, from Economawalk. But no, I started out there, and then college fishing kind of brought me into. I saw that there's a thing in college fishing where you could actually leave school and fish tournaments. So I decided to start bass fishing, and then from there, just kind of fell in love with the sport of tournament fishing, and just got addicted to that feeling, and kind of took it to, started competing in professional tournaments, qualified through the Toyotas, or what are the Toyotas, what were the Costas, and qualified for the tour. So it's kind of a quick
Well, and
turnaround.
Cody, don't sell yourself short here either. I know you're a little foggy, but like you started tournament fishing in college and like started winning very quickly. Like you won a couple tournaments in college.
Yeah. No, it was we were pretty fortunate to do really well very quickly, and got a lot of great experience right off the get-go. So I think that kind of helped cut the learning curve down really hard, and our team was really competitive. So competing against guys that were much better than you, just made you better.
What team were you on?
Stevens Point.
Oh yeah.
And back then they were like a powerhouse. Like I was either thinking of going to Madison or Stevens Point, but I chose over a D1 school to go to Stevens Point, Wisconsin for a fishing team.
Somebody didn't get into Madison.
We weren't supposed to tell anyone.
To be honest, I'm just shocked you went to college.
Sophie went to Stevens Point, right?
So we did.
Connor Graham
did.
too.
Yep.
Sick. It's a good group.
Yep.
So your success in college, I literally have no idea. Was it down south?
Yep. It was down south. So our first year that we really fished, we made the national championship, which was awesome. I had no idea what I was doing down there, but it was a fun time.
What'd you do?
It's like a dude the first time in the bedroom.
like,
I had no idea what I'm doing down here, but I'm giving her hell.
Well, it's like I don't know. Like
Throw a pacemaker all
yeah,
day?
basically.
Or
No, it was a double 10, and I just scrapped it out from
The
there.
old bulldog?
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
big
yeah.
Swimmer, Bob.
You old
Big
bulldog,
swimmer.
you.
Oh yeah.
Big swimmer.
Oh, yep. Keep ripping.
I actually find that interesting, though. Go from musky fishing, where you're used to not catching that many fish, to going down south, which I think is one of the hardest transitions for Minnesota guys going down south.
Yes.
Is we catch so many fish in Minnesota.
Well, I think that helped me
yeah,
a lot.
I can totally
like,
see that.
The mindset of, well, I'm used to not getting bites, so it doesn't bug me that much. I don't need the constant catching to feel confident in what I'm doing. So I think that really did help me.
I could
a
totally
ton.
see that.
Cody, was it the first one? Did you win one on Table Rock or Lake of the Ozarks?
We took second on Table Rock, and then the week after we won Ozarks by I think I don't know, a large margin.
Was that the first ones you did really good in?
Yeah.
So the transition of that, you did that with an Alabama rig, correct?
We did it with Alabama rig and a Vision 110 plus one, and then a Vision 110.
So
at
was that
Ozarks.
transition from musky fishing to that? Is that kind of
It
That's what I
was
was gonna ask,
yeah.
it was pretty. Honestly, it was really similar because we were catching.
Those two
I was like, he has this. He
It's
just
a
took his
swick.
musky
It's a
rod,
swick.
It's
and he's like,
It's a
"Hey, what can I
swick
throw?"
and a fucking bucktail.
He didn't even buy bass rods.
And a
They're like,
bucktail.
"Here, this is really heavy. Just cast this
Swick and a bucktail.
on
bud.
the main lake. You'll maybe
Oh.
catch 5 fish all day." And he's like, "Okay."
It's like it'd be like a crappie. It was like crappie fishing for us, but for him it was
like,
110 and
Yeah.
an A rig.
So bulldog or Medusa today? I don't know. I'm like a dog, probably. I don't.
Grab the
I don't-
dog.
Grab the.
I wouldn't even doubt if he was down on like Table Rock just chucking a big bulldog down there. Like, what is he doing?
Okay.
It's a giant swim bait.
I tried it on Kentucky Lake. I tried a bulldog on Kentucky Lake.
On
I
the
did
ledges?
catch a fish on it. It was
On
a
the
big one.
ledges?
Yes. Yes.
That's so badass.
And I thought it was gonna be like the next thing. It was not. Lost it
It still could be.
immediately.
It still could be.
Well, so was that a tough transition for you? Like from like picking up the bait? There's a lot of similarities, but there's also a lot of differences.
There are, and the thing that frustrated me the most right away was I thought going from musky to bass would be like easy, because I always looked at bass fishing as like, well, that's the easier sport, obviously.
They're dumb.
They're dumb. And I learned pretty fast that I sucked really bad at it. So I just practiced a lot by myself and trying to learn as much as I could from, I guess, how we always did it or how we've grown up doing it, YouTube or Bassmaster Magazine, and just kind of went from there. But the transition, like as far as casting baits and like timing of things, is really different, but at the same time it's similar. Like I took a lot of musky things away and put it into bass fishing, like moon phases, like moonrise, moonset. Those are big key times, especially if you're fishing for 5 bites all day, like knowing when to be where. And it really does translate, especially on big fish fisheries like Ozarks or Gunnersville or stuff like that.
Be on your best stuff during the best times.
It does actually. I mean, it is a thing.
Matt Thompson, musky guy,
Yeah.
who has transitioned over to be a big fish guy on the bass side.
Yeah.
I had him on. He's kind of the first episode of the season this year.
Mm-hmm.
He said the same thing. He keeps, I think, a farmer's almanac or whatever the
Yeah.
fuck you call it in his back pocket. No matter
Absolutely.
every day he goes out. And he
I don't know if
swears
you know
by
how big a
those
farmer's almanac
major
is.
and minor
I think we're
windows.
missing the farmer's almanac here.
And I just think that's super interesting because bass guys pretty much only look at the moon phase during the spawn.
During the spawn. Yeah. Right.
And what you're saying is you've had that work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like there's an open that I did 2 years ago in Hartwell, and I had schooling fish, which day one I caught like 21 or 22
I
pounds.
remember
off the
that.
schooling
I was
fish.
watching that.
And
you
it was-
sacked them.
yeah.
You were leading or
Yeah.
second?
Yeah.
This is a hell of a story. You
And
should
then
go
you
through
sucked the
this
next
open in
day.
general.
I mean,
it
oops,
hurts, but it is
sorry.
a fantastic
No.
That's
story.
herring lakes for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Anyway.
It wasn't the herring.
It wasn't the herring, but
Carry on.
So
Carry on.
I found
That's a red
I was
herring.
driving down the lake during it was a moon overhead phase, which there's moon overhead, moon underfoot, moon rise, moon set, which are like the four, where the moon is at in accordance to you. And it was directly overhead, and I was driving down the lake and I saw this huge like busting commotion, and it lasted for like 45 minutes. I'd drive by, I'm like, holy crap. Like there's definitely largemouth in there. I know there's a bunch of stripes in there, but there's definitely largemouth. And the next day I went by it again, and it was like 11:45. And the next day it was going to be at 11:50. Drove by at 11:50, waited, whoosh, all started up again. I'm like, interesting. And during the tournament, I saw that overhead was going to be at like 12:01. Showed up. Josh Douglas was fishing a cane pile that was on that shoal, which they would push up and bust on, and he was on it at 11:30, and I'm like watching, like, and Josh and I are good buddies. I'm like, Josh, get the fuck off that spot, get off.
Sound like good buddies.
Yeah. I'm like, and I saw him leave, and I pulled in. My co-angler's like, man, you are in a good busting spot. I'm like, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And it went down like to the minute. You could see him coming. You could see him pushing him in like to the minute.
That's
of moon
insane,
overhead.
actually. I've never thought of it that exact.
Yeah.
To the minute.
And you'll see it musky fishing. I mean, there's so many like fish over 50 inches where it's the minute. And it happened last night. Like we were fishing up on Mille Lacs. I caught a 46 incher to the minute. A guy caught a 55 next to me, and a 53 was caught on the minute. It's eerie, but it works.
Well, what do you do different during that minute, I guess?
During that minute, you just have
try
to
to
be
be
on
on
your
your-
just like keep just be aware of it's coming. Like, that's when you want to be the most attentive and prepared for that moment to happen.
Well, and especially like when you're
And be on
down
your best
south
stuff.
and you're like not getting a lot of bites,
Right.
and it's like I'm gonna get 6 bites today.
Right.
Be where your big fish bite is when that happens.
And it just helps. I mean, maybe some days it doesn't matter as much, like based on weather, because weather seems to trump the moon. But it also just brings you confidence throughout a day. You're looking, for me, it brings confidence because I'm like, well, I can look at how I can run spots and be like, well, the moon's going to be at this right here. I know I want to be on that spot at that time because that out of the rotation, that's going to be my best chance
Right.
to get a bite off of that spot.
Right. When people talk about, timing a spot right. Oh, yeah, he just
Yeah.
pulled up on the right minute at
Yeah,
the right
yeah,
time
yeah,
on
yeah.
the community hole and
Right.
whacked him. I mean, I saw 8 other boats fish that spot
Right.
all day, and I started there, and I swear to God.
Yeah.
And maybe it was just that,
Right,
what
it
you
could
said,
be.
and no one else.
It could be. It could be that factor. If there are no other factors, that is always a factor. You know, because there's so many other things that happen in fishing where, like, a boat drives by and, like, a carp swims off and scares a bass and it comes out of a bush and you caught it on a whopper plopper. Or something like weird shit. But if there are no, like, outstanding circumstances, the moon is always there.
Dude, I think that could
Always
be proof that we are living in a simulation. You
We
know what I
are.
mean? If he's saying, like, by the minute,
I think you've said
And-
that before.
Did you take the red
Now
pill?
it's a simulation again.
have we been here?
Different episode. Different episode. Never mind.
Run it back.
Run it back.
New dimension.
Did you say that?
No, but I have a question on how you figure out when those times are, because isn't it different based on where you are geographically?
Yep, and I've used the same little crappy little website since I was young. It's like this U.S. prime times, and you can plug in your.
Some poor website
Yeah,
designer's like,
yeah.
I've been working on this my whole life.
This is my life.
All I do is go in
My
here and
n-
plug
my-
in
my
moon
number
times
one
for these
viewer.
fucking musky
My
fishermen.
number one viewer goes on a podcast, shouts me
And
out,
just-
and calls it a crappy little website.
Yeah, what was the name of that website again? That crappy little website?
To hell with you, Cody Hahner. I use
You use a
this
VPN,
site.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then we're good.
Yeah,
What's
right.
Right.
Be on there on Monday,
It's called
blocks.
U.S.
Yeah, I
Prime
can't wait.
Times.
U.S. prime times.
Yeah, and you
Got
can
it.
just plug in your zip code, and it'll go to that spot and that location, and
Yep.
all the times will adjust.
Yep.
And then you pick up your map, and you can see where the moon phase is at, when the minor is, when the major is, and all that stuff. So it's right there, and I usually just screenshot it and just keep a mental log of when it's happening.
Something to be said
U.S.
about,
prime time, the best shitty app you've ever used.
something to be
It
said
might
about
not work 50% of the time. Trust me.
just being more confident or like having a reason that you think
Right,
You know,
and I think that's a lot to do with it.
you fish your bait so much better if you think you're gonna get bit.
Oh,
Exactly.
without a doubt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Try
We're
to like
talking
mentally trick yourself to
Well,
think
yeah.
that all the time.
Like
for
it's
sure.
the same even if it's just weather, like clouds roll in and you're like, oh, thank God. And
Yeah.
then you like go roll up to your spots and you're like, I'm going to get bit now. And
Right.
you know, you do. And is it because you're running your bait better or are there clouds there?
The amount of
It's probably
times I've been
both.
on a spot, like I'm like, oh, this is where it was, right here. And then you catch one, and then like 5 minutes later, you're like, oh wait, actually that wasn't that wasn't where it was. I just actually fished it really well.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Yeah.
difficult due to the length of focus, right? Like a round of golf. How quick can you do a round of golf? And that is like intermediate.
Depends on how many beers you
That's
That's
intermediate
so
focus, right?
Yeah.
And like this is what everyone's wife will never understand about our sport, right?
Yeah.
It is 8 to 24 hours long.
Right.
And to keep that mental focus that you're going to have the confidence and ability to get a bite and there's a 5-pounder or a 56-incher
Oh, yeah.
or whatever
Up
behind
on my
your
lax.
bucktail or whatever.
Right there in the cheddar.
That's more draining than I think most people realize.
Yeah.
And it's everybody says like, oh yeah, I was focused all day, but like no.
Yeah.
Yeah, ADD teal, like I'm taking little
Oh,
fucking
the-
mental breaks.
I
you
think
know?
what really brought that out the most was classic bass. Like
Oh,
the every
for
fish
sure.
counts. Like in a 5-fish derby, yeah, we all say, you know, we're focused the entire time.
Yeah.
But you're in the back of your head, you're like, we gotta catch 5 fish, and it's like
Right.
you fish your spot's really good, but like in between there, you're not quite as focused on.
Yeah.
I know exactly. Yeah, I know what you're
Oh
saying.
man, in classic bass, when it's like every fish, by the end of the day, oh my gosh, feels like you got hit by a train. Literally, by the end of the day, you look across and we just all come in. There's no way in. Guys are laying down on their boats. I mean, everybody is just wiped out mentally.
Nobody caught a muskie, but everybody feels like they caught 100.
It's like you got hit by a train. It's just
Dead.
it's a long 8 hours of just constantly forcing yourself to be focused.
Yeah, staying at 100 the entire time.
Trying to.
That's
and
so hard.
It's
That's
crazy.
where with muskie fishing, like to me, or them Cisco chasers, like that you chase, them smallies, and I
Yep.
do want to get into that at some point. With, I think you both have been doing a little bit of that,
Yeah.
but the focus for muskies, like there's a reason I'm not a muskie fisherman.
Yeah.
can't hold the rod.
Yeah.
Too
Too heavy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Teal, you
10
don't.
feet.
Do you, Hunter? You think he could throw rubber all day with you?
No. I know
I
a
don't
lot
want
of people
to.
can. No,
don't want
it's
to.
horrible.
No
I don't
offense.
want to do
No
it.
offense.
I don't want to do
He'll
it.
troll out of the pontoon on Mille Lacs with those big.
They bite hair jigs. I'll just tow a big old musky hair jig behind the boat all day and drink beer.
Yeah,
That
that's
sounds good.
Actually, never
You'll
mind.
still
I'm with
catch
him. I'll do that. That sounds way better anyway.
Hashtag dry boat eat chips.
Yeah.
Well, Teal, not to like throw this off, but to circle back on that Hartwell story, like we were talking about,
Oh,
we
yeah,
were talking
Hartwell's-
about those schoolers.
Yes.
This is such a
Good call.
But dude, it's like what happened to you in that open? Like when you're like, it's my time, it's my time. This was the epitome of Hunter was on the fish to win, and it was not his time. So like,
So we
just
left
roll
off
through this.
with by the minute.
Yeah.
They came up, and then we went on a little moon phase tangent,
Yes.
which I think was worthwhile.
It was very
Okay.
good.
Okay, so they were there by the minute that day,
But-
and you sacked up how much?
It was, I think it was 21 pounds. I think it was 21 pounds.
We'll call it that.
It was,
You were leading by
20
like
and a half to
2-3 pounds.
Herring eating large.
I think second place had
Just gotta say stuff
just under
confidently.
16.
Just under 16. So you were up by 5 pounds.
Yeah.
He was leading by a lot. If I
You
remember. I looked
mathematician,
at him
you.
like, because that was the same year
Put
I
your
think
pencil
we
down.
drank at the Classic.
Yes.
And that's why I was looking at just the standings in general. I think I was probably looking where Josh finished, and I saw, I'm like, oh shit, yeah. Dude, that's that guy who was with Selby, who I was.
That's that
who
curd
who
cruncher.
partied in Knoxville with.
Right.
Sick.
Curd
Right.
cruncher Cody.
And
Yeah,
then
that's
what
it.
happened?
And
Sorry.
I mean,
Not
yeah,
like-
no, yeah.
Then what happened?
Give me the moment.
Next. So many.
Next.
Give it to me.
No. No, so on the moment, land those fish. Awesome. Everything works out great. Head back to the landing, make sure everything's kosher. Because, I mean, have a monster bag for that time of the year on Hartwell.
This was in September.
Yeah,
Or
late
October.
Late September.
Okay.
Late September. Yeah. Yeah. Bitch, I want that. Yeah. So going into day two, I go to try to dump my boat in. My battery won't start. And I'm like, okay, let's not freak out here. Let's not freak out. We'll just get the battery started. We're gonna get a new battery.
Never started a battery before.
No, sorry.
Boat won't start.
Boat
Battery
won't start.
Doesn't work.
Battery doesn't work.
There we go.
Get it off the landing. I was supposed to be boat number 10 or something like that. I ended up being boat 175. Whatever.
One of the numbers is right.
Running down the lake, my motor dies. And has me in guardian mode the rest of the day.
Oof.
And now this battery is dying, so I have no graphs. I have nothing on a lake that we're fishing cane piles.
Oof.
And I ended up limping my way around. Luckily, I caught 3, made it into the final day, I think I was in 9th place, and I was behind by like maybe 2 pounds. I'm like, not a problem. I never got down to my schooling fish. I got a chance. As long as we can get down there, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. Otherwise, I can run my cane pile deal. I'm going to catch like 14 pounds of spots, maybe a big largemouth in there. It's going to be fine. Going into the morning of day 3, I was headed out. I had to cross the bridge to get to the landing across from Hartwell, and I'm about to go across the bridge. I'm like, shit, forgot a jug of water. Went back to the gas station, grabbed a jug of water. Started going across the bridge, and everything stopped. Taillights everywhere, and all I see is shrapnel in the middle of the bridge.
You know that one big bridge when you were there for nationals?
Yes.
That bridge.
The one that goes across, the one that goes across the Savannah or the Tugaloo? Savannah
It's the one
is
like right by the big landing.
The Savannah is the east one. Tugaloo's the west one. Or wait.
Say confidently.
Vice versa.
Nobody knows.
Yes, I think it's vice versa.
Savannah is the west one. Tugaloo's the furthest east one.
Yeah, it's like 3/4 of a mile across or something like that. I don't know.
It's like 0.8.
The one right by Green Pond.
Yes.
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 Okay, the Savannah.
That one.
Yep.
So now
The west one.
Now I am dead in the middle of this bridge, stand still. I'm like, what is going on? And I'm seeing the boats like collecting out by the landing. It's pitch black out, and I can see the boat lights. I'm like, what is going on? What is going on? All of a sudden, there's cop cars, there's ambulances, like whole 9 yards. And I get out of my truck, and this kid comes up with like a bloody shirt, and he's in college, and he's going to be driving the camera boat around. I'm like, what is going on? He's like, something really bad happened. Something really bad happened. And apparently, a police officer who was on his last day of work was going to the same gas station that I grabbed my jug of water from, and a lady who was all screwed up, like high or whatever, smashed into him and killed him on his last day of work.
Oh,
Yeah.
As a police officer.
One way or the other, I guess.
Well, anyways, I got stuck on that bridge until like 1 on the final
It's
day.
going to be hard to switch the sympathy to you at this point,
and
actually.
here's
And
here's
that
the crazy
motherfucker
thing.
wouldn't let me to take
And,
off.
well, I mentioned the jug thing because I was in there for like maybe 2 minutes tops. If like I hadn't grabbed the jug of water, I would have been like, that would have probably been me who would have gotten smoked by that chick.
yeah, you might have died.
Who knows? It was like, maybe it was lucky that I didn't grab a jug of water that day.
I mean, it depends.
I don't know. We're going deep here, but
I mean, the moon, it depends
The
where the
moon?
moon was.
Yeah,
it
the
depends
moon,
where
yeah.
the moon was,
Right.
dude.
right. But
Was
anyways,
the moon overhead or underfoot?
I believe it was under penis at that point.
That's
Were
my
you
favorite.
hard or were you soft? Because if it was,
It was slight.
it would still be
was-
under. It'd
Yeah.
still be the same.
It was
Saw
a
the
I
accident.
believe it
Trick
was.
question.
It was a waxing moon.
Waxing gibbous.
Whacking moon.
Whacking
It's the old
gibbous.
whacking moon.
Whacking giblet.
Well, as long as we're stuck in traffic. Does look like a whacking moon.
Well,
You mean somebody died up there?
might as well make myself useful while I'm stuck on this bridge.
Get back and grab the camera, kid. About to put on a show. All right.
Cut.
I had to finish the joke.
I knew there.
I had to finish.
I knew there was a reason you're here.
Just
I knew
like
there was
him
a
on the
reason you're here.
bridge, he had to finish.
I'm just happy you came.
I did.
No.
So did he.
Twice.
Let the boy watch.
The blood made it quicker. Oh, never mind.
needs
All
to
right,
let-
that's...
Oh my god.
So you didn't end up getting a fish the last day, or
No, I
Yeah.
ended up.
Mosquito. Gotcha.
Thank you.
Oh,
I
there's
ended
one
up-
on your face.
Well, I ended up getting out on the water at like 1.
Whole bunch of ugly. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, okay. I ended up getting out.
It's been confirmed. Aliens from another planet have landed on Earth. Sources say there's been 2 confirmed landing points for these extraterrestrial beings. One being Japan, and also, unexpectedly, in Minnesota at Waypoint Angler Supply, a local tackle shop on Lake Minnetonka. With the ever-expanding universe, it's no surprise that there are other planets out there that also share our love for the sport of bass fishing. And to Earth's surprise, this latest visit came from extraterrestrial fishermen light years away and many innovations ahead when it comes to fishing equipment. Some hypothesize these beings came from the planet of Naboo, matching up with Mayan folklore dating back thousands of years with fishing equipment ahead of their time. It has been confirmed they left things never seen before by an Earth-born bass. Waypoint Angler Supply is the premier space station in the bass galaxy and has tackle that could previously only be found in Japan or the planet of Naboo. The Waypoint ship is full, but we don't know when the Bastronauts from Naboo will be back. So hurry in to Waypoint Angler Supply today and stock up on that Area 51 Planet of Naboo JDM good before your buddy is whooping that sweet ass of yours. Stop into their store on Lake Minnetonka or visit their website, waypointanglersupply.com. That's waypointanglersupply.com. Use the code GALAXY20 to save 20% on your next tackle binge. Aliens are real. Thank you. This episode is brought to you by just north of Memphis Barbecue. This is World Champion Barbecue. If you smoke meat and you don't like good barbecue, I do not know what to tell you right now besides you need to try some of this stuff. They've got their rub. They've got their sauces right on their website. They've got their famous dry rub award-winning seasoning that you could put on ribs, brisket, pulled pork, chicken, wings, anything you like to put on the smoker, on the oven, on the grill, any meat you like to cook, you need some of this dry rub seasoning in your life. But don't forget the sauce, because that's award-winning world champion sauce here. No matter what flavor you like, they've got 3 different sauces, and they are all good. You can drink them straight out the bottle. We've got Sweet Christie's for all you sweet-loving barbecue folk. We've got Christie's Mischief for all you spicy bass anglers out there. And then we've got Christie's Gold. And they'll sell all 3 of them in a combo. But you need to go to their website right now. It's jnomemphis.com. That's jnomemphis.com. Dry rub, sauce, barbecue. Let's go!
On the water at like 1 that day. So I missed my time with those schooling fish, and I basically just chunked around and, scrapped together a 5-fish limit, but it was maybe like 11 pounds or something like that.
So you got on the water at 1 p.m.?
Yes.
That is
Like you were
You didn't get to take off.
He was
No,
stuck on the
and they
bridge
wouldn't-
like you watched guys
I watched.
take off.
Yeah.
Because
and
of
they
a
would come
dead
and
cop?
take-
No offense to the dead. But
They- well-
did they close down a bridge for that?
Well, they
for
had
that long?
Well, have you ever, if you remember that bridge, there's no shoulders on that bridge, and they had to have 1 lane of traffic open for fire department, EMT, ambulance, and wrecking crew to clean up all the wreckage and stuff.
There's
that
Cody
came
on the
from that.
side, like, if he's gone, let us through.
And the tournament director's like, I'm talking to like,
Is he dead?
So did you consider backing the trailer right over the bridge?
there was a time.
See,
There
that's
was
the
a
kind of
time.
shit
I'm
I like do that. Like,
I'm like,
it'll probably flip up. Right?
yeah.
Like, right?
Yeah.
You just back that fucker right into the side.
It might.
Would it?
It depends on the moon. Was moon underfoot or overhead?
Depends where you are.
If it
on
was
the boat.
overhead, you're fine.
If it's over, yeah, no, gravity's taking
Right.
it down.
Right.
That chisel's
Yeah.
gonna land soft.
I think a true competitor would have backed it right off the bridge. And if nothing else, that would have been
Yeah, Cody,
an awesome story.
Honestly, I would say you unstrap the front of the boat and the transom straps, and you take the whole
Yeah.
rig off the bridge.
Truck and trailer.
Sacrifice.
You're like, I'm about to win
and the
50
boat, like,
G's.
just-
I could buy a new
The boat
trailer.
floats.
Aim
Why-
for the bushes.
I drive a $7,000 truck. I'll drive it right off the bridge. Doesn't
In
matter.
case I miss a takeoff.
Yeah. Like, good to go. Let that sucker sink. We'll hop in the boat and go.
If you ain't first, you're last.
And first, exactly.
Disqualified. You didn't have your boat lights in.
We'll argue it.
But yeah, that had to probably have been.
That's a kick
That's
in
a
the
rough.
dick.
That's a
it
rough
was
experience.
It was a rough one. It was a rough one, especially when you thought you had everything figured out, and it wasn't your time. It just was not meant to be.
Well, I just picture in those movies where you see like the most insane road rage. Like,
Yes.
were you like?
Well, I was just trying. I mean,
you were like, you were
there's-
there at what, 6 a.m.?
Drag him
Yeah,
to the
5 a.m.
side.
5 a.m.
yeah,
till noon, 12:30.
that was the cleanest my boat has ever been.
Oh,
That's
that's
all I
you
did.
did.
Just try to keep my mind off of it, and then I go in the graph and be like, all right, cut down day. Trying to sort waypoints and like just trying to do
call
whatever
the
I
tournament
can.
director
Oh,
and they're
we were on the phone like the entire day.
Oh, man.
Were you
And-
the only one who missed?
Yeah. I was the only one who crossed the bridge.
Oh, everybody else
Was on the other side of the lake.
gotcha. They're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I've seen people die on that bridge before. We're
They're
staying
like,
on
"We're
the other
staying
side
over here."
So
next year.
note to
I've
self:
seen
if
this
you're
before.
fishing a tournament somewhere, don't stay on the
Other side of the bridge.
From a landing.
Yes.
Yes.
Especially down south. Sarah's got it in. She's coming back from the liquor store. God knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
Kids, stay away from crack.
Indeed.
Chrome shower blow?
It was the IMA.
Best shower of my
I'm
life.
a-
Oh wait.
I'm
I'm a flit stick or
I was
that big
using the
pencil
flit
popper
stick
deal?
and the pencil popper.
Yeah.
I like the IMA because I could walk it a lot faster without it, going up and down.
It sounds
the
like
shower
such
blow
a
is a
dumb
little
conversation from somebody
is a
who
little
doesn't know
slower.
fishing. Oh, I like
And
the
they
shower
wanted it,
blow, the
like,
trick stick, and the
as
popper
fast
blow.
as you could work it. That's
Gotcha.
the only way you get them to bite.
Well, yeah, them herring are another.
Oh, yeah.
They're like the Cisco of the South.
They are.
Kind of.
I think they're even
Maybe
more cool.
faster.
I think they're faster. Yeah.
And move more, like more migrational
yeah.
even maybe.
Yeah. I would say so.
What's a Cisco like?
What is a Cisco like?
It's like a disco, but one letter.
Yeah, what's a
earlier.
Cisco? Because a lot of people probably never get to
Yeah.
experience a Cisco bite unless they fish the Cisco spawn in the fall,
Right. Correct. Cisco is basically a version of the whitefish family, and it's just an open water pelagic bait fish. That
Why'd you bring race into this?
pelagic
Whitefish.
whitefish. I can.
That's a
I'll
chain
bring
in
it
northern
back.
Minnesota.
That's
I'll bring it
Caucasian
back.
to you,
Hey,
sir.
Part of the Caucasian fish family. From the mountains of Caucasus. That is a Slavic baby. The baby's got a 390 credit score right now as an infant.
Just because his name is Darren don't mean he belonged to Darren.
I've been in here 19 consecutive years. You know how long consecutive is?
Do you know what consecutive means?
One after the
One after motherfucking another.
Ain't never missed a day.
So clearly, you've been having some conjugal visits with some other motherfuckers.
What?
I'm impressed. Okay.
Who's the officer in that scene? What? That baby looks a lot like
Officer.
I can't get it either. Daniels? Is it Officer Daniels?
No, that's from Reno. Oh.
I can't remember either.
No,
I both
I
got
could
the
be
same
there.
glasses.
It'll come back. Anyway, back to the Crisco. I mean,
yeah.
Cisco.
Yeah.
Crisco. Back to the Ciscos. Cisco.
Disco with the C.
So where them Ciscos live and why do they live there and when they go?
Yeah, so they're a family or part of the Caucasian fish family, whitefish. And they're basically just a pelagic bait fish that roam basins in a lot of especially Wisconsin, Canada,
them
Minnesota, Michigan, like the upper Midwest. And
Them
that
freeload
bait fish
motherfuckers.
just sits out in the basin for 99% of the year until it comes into spawn. And there's, it's just a really greasy, easy meal for muskies, walleyes, smallmouth to feed on. And if that bait fish is in the bodies of water that you fish, you're going to realize it pretty much immediately just by the build of that fish. As far as what I've seen, unless the genetic of that fish is not so good, or if it's a different strain of fish, most of the time what that bait fish does to those fish is it's like a fat kid on cake. I mean, just makes them grotesque.
Yeah.
Yeah.
High protein, but they're a deeper bait fish, right?
Yes.
So, like a Cisco, you have a thermocline on any
Right.
body of water, and then you have what bait fish eat, which is like plankton,
Right.
all that stuff.
Right.
Shallow water bait fish or shallower water bait fish probably eat plankton. Cisco, same thing.
Yeah.
What? Why are they such a deep species? They like colder water, I would assume, is all.
I mean, I am no biologist. This is just pure guessing and bullshitting.
Pretty
That's
surprising.
totally.
Welcome.
Yeah, this is
Okay,
not.
college boy.
To be clear, to be clear, this
Mr.
is not
Medicine.
financial advice. This
Mr.
is not
Stevens
financial
points.
advice.
I mean, I'm sure it's just like a trout or something like that. They're just a more cold water, apt to cold water, because you'll see them. They're
his ass.
oh
He had
man,
no idea. He's like, it's cold
They're-
water.
oh, I can't handle it.
Just words.
They-
We have no idea.
They will sit under the thermocline and on bottom
Get that
in 80
mosquito
feet of
or
water often. It does not bother them.
And where's the thermocline in 80 feet?
Thermocline
Like, let's
is
say
usually-
you got a mosquito
Get
right
that
there.
fucker. It's driving me nuts.
Yeah, it is. Me too.
Yep.
Bam.
If I just swat you randomly,
Wax
there's a
on.
mosquito.
Not
Wax
bad.
off.
Not bad hands.
Wax-
There. You might have some athletic ability in you.
Magic Man.
I mean, it
and
took
El
you
Diablo.
forever to notice it, but
Yeah.
yeah. Now you
Observation skills
lie,
are
that's an
very
option
low
nickname.
for a musky angler. However, hand
got it.
hand
Yeah.
eye,
You just
yeah.
had 24 hours of observation. But anyway, back to what we were talking
Yes,
about.
yes.
With the Criscos.
Yes, the Caucasus. Was that too far?
The second was a little strong.
Okay. All right. Sorry. I'll work.
Just
on
watch
it.
the hard seas
Oh,
next
yeah.
time.
Yeah. I'm sorry, people.
A little bit too hard.
It's a
on the
hard
cock.
sea,
It
dude.
was a hard sea. If, say, out in 80 feet of water, the thermocline, depending on the lake, will usually set up in like that 27, 26. body
Shut
water.
the fuck up.
I was asked a question. I am answering that
enjoy-
question
I'm
to the
enjoying
best of my
this.
ability.
All this science shit.
I'm enjoying this, okay?
This is barstool biology.
Yes.
And
Okay.
that's usually where it'll sit. And they'll sit, at times, they'll come up closer to the surface where, especially at night, they'll be above that thermocline. And during the daytime, unless there is, predatory fish or a school of walleyes or something that causes them to come up closer to the thermocline, they will usually sit underneath that thermocline because that's where they're most comfortable.
Sure. So they're like vampires, dude.
Very much so.
That's great. So will like a bass or a muskie go down in 80 feet of water and eat them?
No, they just
They
can't
wait
handle
for
it.
them
They just
to
exactly. They
Go
wait
in
for them
those
to come up.
opportune
Yes.
moments.
Yes, and you'll notice it when you're graphing. If you see ciscos that are above the thermocline, there's a reason for that. They don't want to necessarily be up there
They're
in the
not
middle
as
of the day.
deep.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not
There you
quite
go.
as far down
Thank you, James.
as far as the numbers go. If you count the numbers
Here to make things
On your
easy.
graph,
on
yeah,
your graph,
there'll be more
Don't,
around
even,
the
don't even have to
17.
count them. You
More-
can just read them.
more higher than the 20.
Thermocline. Thermocline. It's in the water. You know?
I don't know how this represents thermocline, but this is very.
For YouTube
Yes.
viewers, Teal was basically just playing an accordion.
No, that's the Donald Trump. Thermocline.
It was the best presentation in the water.
Thermoclines.
The best separation in the water.
I love thermoclines.
I've been shallow. I've been deep. It doesn't even matter. I
I've
can be
seen
on both
about 30
sides.
thermoclines this month. If you're wondering.
It's one of my favorite borders.
Sometimes I talk to the thermoclines. No, but so they eat the plankton.
Yeah, they do.
So why don't other species go down there and compete for the same plankton that the cisco eat?
That's a good question.
Anyway,
I-
yeah.
Make something up. Come on.
Life's more about
I
questions
think-
and answers. Like
I just think
It's deeper.
it's deeper. They don't like the deeps.
Yeah.
They don't like the deeps.
Yeah, they're
well, dude, you dropped
scared
that.
of the dark.
You dropped that moonface shit earlier. I just thought like I'd keep it rolling.
Oh
dude.
yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying.
doesn't
I'm just
look
getting all these faces.
But-
all these faces at me.
But basically,
Stop it, you
Hahner,
fucking idiot.
you have seen times in the summer where they are typically deep,
Yes.
where fish will. So, like, you run into it with muskies.
Yes.
Like, you'll see muskies suspended over open water near the cisco,
Yes.
and they're just waiting for their meal.
So
they're
well,
flying,
you
for
will
them to
run
come
into
up?
it with smallmouth,
Yes.
too. And when that happens, they will basically push them
Mm-hmm.
to an
And
area.
corral them wherever they need to, wherever it's easiest for them to get it. Especially the smallmouth. The muskies, not so much. Muskie, if they want it, they're just gonna swim up and grab it. A smallmouth's mouth is too small, and they got to feed a different way.
So when was
It's a
I guess
well-named fish.
when was the first time in like the summer or open water that you've seen this happen? Like, do you have a vivid memory?
I guess probably muskie fishing on a lake. I was looking for ciscos just to try and cast for muskies, and it's like one of my favorite lakes to go smallmouth fishing, and I could never figure out at that time where the smallmouth went during the summer because it's there are not that many features to this body of water. So why wouldn't they just be on the couple rock spines eating crayfish?
Right.
Because that's basically all that's in there is crayfish and Cisco. And I could never find them. It just didn't make any sense, and the lake isn't that big to not catch them. Well, I was graphing Cisco's looking for muskies, and there's like 25 perfect footballs underneath a Cisco pod.
And this is just out in the open?
Out in like 80 feet of water.
What lake was this?
And they're like they're like 40 feet up, 30 feet up?
They're like
halfway?
they're right at the thermocline.
Got it.
Right at the
27
thermocline.
and
Yeah.
a half feet.
How do
Yeah.
you find the thermocline?
You can see it on there we go. We can see it on our graph, like the
2D, you can see
2D,
it a lot
you can
better.
see it a lot better. It's just a disturbance in your graph where it becomes fuzzy on your 2D, and that line is roughly your thermal,
Which is
thermocline.
basically where the oxygen level switches.
Yeah,
right?
the water mixes and becomes it drops from like 65 degrees to like 58 degrees or something. We'll say something like that.
It's a pressure deal.
Yes.
Kind of like when you go deeper into the water and your ears pop.
Ears pop.
Kind of same thing.
Yes.
And if you can't see it on your graph, you can sometimes bump your sensitivity up to have it show up a
Yes.
little bit
Yes.
easier. But I mean, like, I feel like most of the species we target pretty much live their whole life above the thermocline for the most part.
For the most part.
Is it just there's no weed growth below the thermocline? So I
Right.
think that's also where the sun can penetrate the water too.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit to light penetration, photosynthesis, if you will.
That's a big word.
Photosynthesis.
Got a lot of science happening in this podcast.
Yeah, no, fuck. We can have
We're
whatever we
killing
want.
it.
We can
We're
go into
killing it.
philosophy next if
Yeah.
you'd like.
Well,
Next week's episode is Bill Nye.
But
Bill
like,
Nye.
is there just less? It surprised me a Cisco lives down there if there's less oxygen and whatnot. To me,
There's also none of the
something
predatory fish.
the way with their makeup of that's they can survive down there, just like I'm sure that's where burbot go, and they probably have
Sure.
the same makeup. That's where they live.
sure.
But they can do it, but other fish can't.
That makes sense.
so Cody, when you do see them, you see the smallmouth gang up on those Cisco on places. Like, what does that look like?
Typically, like a smallmouth will try and push Cisco to like a rock bar or something where they can actually pin them on something, so they can surround them and actually work with each other to take down like a full-grown Cisco. Because some of the Ciscos are 10 to 12 inches long,
Right.
and a smallmouth's mouth, it's not like a
not
large
real
mouth.
big.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't.
If
they're
people
not gonna
don't know
just
what a
engulf
Cisco
it.
looks like, it looks like a giant shad, kind
Yeah.
of. Yeah.
It's
They're
like a
big.
gizzard shad.
Yeah.
There's little ones too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Depending on the
They're
body
all
of water.
born the same size.
Yeah,
Right.
my bad.
But typically, you're looking for Cisco's pushed up on a rock bar, and that rock bar, or some face, or like a bluffy bank, and that's where you're gonna find feeding smallmouth on those Ciscos. Otherwise, they're gonna be pretty stagnant.
So it's kind of a wind deal then. A wind.
It can, yes, definitely.
If there's no wind, you can't predict.
You can't predict it nearly
which
as
one
well.
they're gonna pin 'em
then
on.
you just have to, like, if you're looking for that bite, you have to search and search and search and stay on your graph until that moment comes up. Like I was telling Bart, you could be on your graph all day long, but if you're not on your graph, you're gonna miss that moment, and you could miss like a monstrous bag, like epic bag, like a 30+ pound bag, and completely miss it, where you would have been just like fishing or trying to do something else.
So Hahner, you should show them the picture of your best day ever. Do you still have that on your phone of what the 2D looks like?
Oh yeah, somewhere.
We can find this quick, but it's like he was talking about with those Cisco getting corralled and everything. Like when we started filming Chasing Ghosts and doing the whole, I had kind of messed with the Cisco chasing deal a bit, and then we had talked about doing it, and I was like, hey, I want to learn. But it is such a, like, we talk about doing this, but it is like musky fishing, because you are looking for such a specific scenario to occur, and you're going to strike out until it occurs.
Right.
That's just
right.
like the way it is. But when it happens, it is crazy. So that's what was that bag? Teal and James are looking at 2D of a Cisco getting pushed onto a main lake bar right now. So how much
About a
pounds of
bunch of
smallmouth
smallies.
is that, Cody?
Looks like big
The
ones.
the biggest five was just under 35 pounds. It was like 34.98.
So, a Cisco chasing smallmouth is a special fish, right? So those
It
fish
is.
will eat crawfish until they're a certain size.
Yeah.
And then they will switch from crawfish to almost exclusively targeting the Cisco, correct?
Yes, predominantly. Like you'll find a lot of 2-pounders up shallow
Yep.
that you can catch on hair jigs and tubes and stuff like that. But you just miss the mature like population. They're just gone.
35 pounds,
Yes,
7-pounders.
7-pounders.
And this was on what lake?
Well, if we get drunk,
We ain't saying that shit on the record, bro.
No, there is.
We can cut
yeah.
the record
People-
right now.
Out of
people will get shanked for that.
Not out of respect for Wisconsin, but out of respect for Cody.
thank
Yes.
you.
I have no
But-
respect for Cody. You can tell me right now.
I obviously
Cape Ago hair.
I obviously know this because Cody's told me this before. But when he
Obviously.
ran into that 35-pound bag, what did you all catch them on? Because
it
you had
was-
also gotten back from a Tennessee River
Yeah.
ledge derby.
Yeah. Like I found that bag and I kind of went through my normal gamut of like swim baits, swim baits like anywhere from a 5-inch swim bait, a 3.3, a drop shot, just something to, catch them. And then, the bite kept getting better and better and better. And I had my TVA stuff with me. I'm like, fuck it. Let's just see what they'll not eat. First bait was a 10XD. Caught a fish on a 10XD.
On 7?
It was like a 6. It was like a 6. And then I'm like, all right, let's try a big ass
Only a
hollow
6.
belly. And you could feel them just like punching it with their faces the entire cast. And then finally one just engulfed the entire thing. It was like a 6-inch Scottsboro. Caught one on that. And then threw a big ass fly down there, hair jig. And that was the best one by far.
Fun.
They crushed it.
Yeah.
And it was all like super cool, like spoons, it was mayhem. I caught, I don't know how many fish over, it seemed like the entire population of that lake was sitting on that spot. And the amount of 5-pounders, it was just
What were the
wicked.
conditions? Was it cloudy or sunny?
No, it was flat, calm, and sunny.
sunny.
Yep.
What
And
time
they
of
were
year?
pushing Cisco up on that.
Yeah, it was end
That
of
sounds
August,
random
last
as
day of August.
fuck.
Yeah.
That sounds random as fuck.
It was
Sorry.
super random, and I know it's random because a lot of our bites where I live. Don't want to incriminate myself. Where I live,
Wausau.
What's up? Yeah, it's in Wausau.
A lot of the bites a long ways from where I live.
Yes. It is so random because our density, like the densities of the fisheries, are so low that it feels random because you can't pattern that well.
You know what it
Not
sounds
enough
like?
of 'em.
It sounds like the day before the tournament kind of bite.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hayden took me out to one of those.
Like, you
lakes.
might as
I
well
went
bang
out with
on 'em
Hayden,
because-
and we had a really tough day. We had
Yeah.
2 5.5-pounders and a couple of 3-pounders and a 2-pounder.
And
it,
that-
sounds
that's
sounds like
very
our
much
whole
what it
fall.
can be.
it was weird because we were like, I've never we were hooking like rock and catching.
I got a rock.
This rock. It's
Yeah,
like
do you know-
lava rock.
Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
god,
It was
dude!
so dumb.
Yeah.
One of the running jokes in
So
Cha-
annoying.
One of
Whenever like, oh, I caught a rock.
one of the
Where
running
the
ghosts.
fuck am I, dude?
One of the running jokes.
We
in
must be
chasing
in
ghosts.
Wisconsin. It's like cheese craters.
Yeah.
Black, moldy cheese
Yeah.
craters.
I got a
Dude,
rock.
It's so weird. That was one of the running jokes when we were filming Chasing Ghosts was when Gaffron was with us filming. He kept a tally of how many rocks Cody and I would catch a day.
I'm like-
it was like upwards of 20 or 30. And you just like set the hook and you're like, big one. And then all of a sudden you're like, what?
It'd be a flat
not
rock,
quite.
so it'll kind of like.
Yeah, it'll
yeah,
shimmy
yeah,
a bit too. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And I'm a big blade bait guy, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
So the
exactly.
blade bait, oh my gosh,
Oh,
dude,
it's
he crushes
horrible.
that lava rock,
Absolutely.
dude. Absolutely whacked.
I bet
the lava
I bet,
rock on
I
the
bet
blade
you
bait that day,
tie braided split rings as well. So you
No,
really
dude, that's
hook
too
them?
much work. If there's a tournament, I'll tie braided.
So
split
this
rings,
just
but
in.
There are not many tournaments you could use a blade bait.
This
so I don't
just
really
in
care. if I
Teal
lose
doesn't
one.
do something crazy painfully.
Hayden Anderson will put you on one hell of a rock bite, is what it sounds like.
He did that day.
Like,
He's
you
put
can-
me on a pretty good
you-
smallmouth
you can-
bite too,
oh, yeah.
and we put each other on some pretty good smallmouth bites over the years. But
the rocks, he's
anyway.
got the rock styled.
like, what I'm curious about is so smelt to me are because I'm from, not northern Minnesota, and in some of those northern Minnesota lakes, there's smelt.
Yeah.
Right? Kind of like Lake Rainy, Pokegama, things like that. And I've learned a lot about the smelt over the past 4 or 5 years. And I'm curious how a Cisco compares to a smelt, because smelt to me there's a time to chase a smelt bite, and there's a time where it's a lot tougher to chase a smelt bite based on the weather.
Yeah.
Are Cisco that way, or are they more random yet?
No, the Ciscos seem to be pretty. See, there's times like when there's bug hatches, the Ciscos. That's one. Sure.
Keeps the doctor away.
Like, especially when there's bug hatches. I learned this from a Musky guide up in Vermilion, Luke, and he's like, "Oh yeah, be aware. Like the Ciscos are really close to the bank because of bug hatch right now." And I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, not many people fish that bite, so that's a thing. Like you have to watch out for bug hatches because that will draw them closer out of their basins pretty hard."
That's
that's a really good time to do it.
Yeah,
but
Corona says Cisco's,
That's some big time juice right there.
Yeah, that was.
Whoops, the Windsor Apple might have got that one out.
No, dude, that was really good. How about, so to me, being that they're kind of vampire-ish, to me they would come up like a smelt more and ball up more towards the surface when it's cloudy versus sunny, being that they like
typically
not sun.
Yes,
they seem to hate sun.
Yes,
so
more of a daughter kind of
typically
thing.
You'll see them rise when it's
cloudier.
Yes.
Yep, that makes sense.
And
ball up too, or
yes.
They're like
they'll
a
be
smelt.
they'll be in a tight pack. They're not like individual. They are a ball of bait fish.
very smelty.
But the cool thing, like,
it's cool when you graph them.
yeah,
Sure.
They're wicked.
and for the longest time at night, musky fishing, I couldn't figure out where they would go because on your graph, I'm like, well, where did all the Ciscos go? Because I'm not seeing the balls of Cisco. I'm like, I know there's Cisco out here. Well, there's a thing in night musky fishing. My buddy has it. You can attach green lights to the side of your boat. It shines into the light so you can see your bait coming in at night during your figure eights.
Cheating.
Yes, very much so. That's it. That's the one.
Nail on the head.
And we all of a sudden we'd be going down the basin, and we'd see Cisco in the green lights on top of the water. So the reason we couldn't graph them is because we were just dividing them.
Your sonar's a cone.
Yeah, we were just
It
splitting
doesn't pick them up.
Right.
And
Yeah, you're
they're
not
pretty
picking 'em.
spooky, so
And
they
they're-
probably aren't right under the boat.
No, and they're like, only 5 feet under the surface.
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So you really seem to stumble in that picture you showed us of the sonar, sunny and calm.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
that was like a
it's
sounds
just
like-
a one in a
sounds
million.
like a royal flush or a straight flush
Absolutely.
at the very least.
Absolutely. Like if I'm fishing by myself, I'll do the graphing thing where I will just, if I'm dead set on trying to catch a really big one, I will graph and not make a cast all day until you see or run into that scenario.
What do you consider a really big one?
Over
7
7
inches.
3/4.
Oh,
Over 7 3/4.
So what's a big one?
is that inches?
Big one's like over 8.
That's
Okay.
8 inches is pretty big.
Yeah.
8 inches is big.
Uh-huh.
What's the
But
girth got to be
those
on
are-
that?
I mean, that.
I have no idea. I don't know.
So
I've never girthed
that's
one.
what's weird about them
That would
lakes
be-
in Wisconsin. Some of them, dude, is
Like-
there's like giants in there. You're fishing for one
weird.
bite every 3 days.
Dude,
At times, yeah, but that's legit.
when Cody and I were out there in the spring. So it was the craziest shit I have ever seen, because I was looking at him. I'm like,
Ever?
Yes, because it was like we hadn't ran into one yet, and we were on this lake, and we had been there a few days in a row.
I could feel him starting to not believe my bullshit. I could feel it. I'm like, I know, dude.
Yeah, we're good buddies, but we were plugging through. We were on like day 18 of doing it, but it had been.
You could just start to feeling it on day 18.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not gonna work.
Dude, by day 18, I'd be out of there.
But that was with fall and spring combined. So in the spring, we'd been out there for like 6 days. We'd been to this lake, I think 3 times, and it had just been getting right for them to kind of start pulling up shallow. Not to make beds yet or anything, but just to get out of deep water. Because in the spring, it's really hard to find them. And it's already very hard. So we'd kept going to this flat because we'd see like 1 or 2 little smallmouth, and then the next time we went back, there was 5 little smallmouth, and we're like, okay, some are starting to show up, and I'll never forget this. We come around this corner, and he's throwing a mag draft, a 6-inch mag draft, and he throws it out, and he's reeling it in. He just goes, Bart, 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 Bart. Look. And I like look up, and behind his mag draft, it looks like the best way I can explain it is 2 tires.
Yeah.
That rolling behind it. And I'm like, are those smallmouth? And he's like, yeah, fucking eat. And they follow it right to the boat. And I looked at him and I was like, how big were those 2? And he just looks at me. He's like, well over 7. And I was like, yeah, because we had caught, a handful of upper 5s and everything. And it was like, I mean, dude, it just dwarfed him. Mm-hmm. And you were like, you were like, what the fuck? And then
Sturgeon Bay was.
We left and came
really
back. Yeah, and we came back a few hours later, came around the other corner, and we saw a pack of 5 of them. And he chucks a hair jig up, catches the littlest one, and it was 579. And it was like so much smaller.
Yeah, I should have took out some corn. You were fishing for carp.
We've seen smallmouth roll with carp. Smallmouth don't hate carp.
No. Or dogfish. Dogfish?
Maybe that's what he got me.
You saw like
Yes.
magnums.
Well, I caught a 7 1/4.
Yeah.
And there was 2 with it that made it look like a 5-pounder.
But dude, like,
And they were.
You see,
I saw an 8 or 9 pounder. I guarantee it. Dane could have caught it if he wasn't like sunburnt and sick in the back.
And I don't know
like,
what it is
Rip
with
Dane.
that body of water.
He knows it. I feel bad for
busy
him.
texting my
You'll
wife.
see that, and you're like,
Yeah.
what in the hell is that thing?
Kid Dane.
But you can't catch them.
Yeah, dude, they're smart.
Like
They're the
you
smartest
never catch
you'll
'em.
ever see.
And
dude.
you think
They're
like,
fuckers.
Can you imagine how good they taste, though?
because like, oh my
That's
god,
what all the musky guys
knock
say.
the sides off that.
I mean, the muskies.
But
taste
like,
gross.
Yeah, I
did you
love
ever
them.
see the 898 that was caught in that Sturgeon Bay Open?
Saw a
Ben,
picture.
Pictures.
That was one of those like unicorn fish, and he randomly caught it. But normally they never get caught. You never see them.
Dude, it
never
looks
even
like
hear
a
'em.
different, like, it's a completely different looking class.
Yeah, you're like-
of fish.
And they look uncatchable. When
I'm
you see
guessing
'em, too.
Oh yeah,
Freestyle.
they're like,
You look at them and you throw, but in your heart of hearts, you're like, not a fucking chance.
Those fish are old though, dude.
old.
Old. They're like
as the
15, 20
hills.
years old.
Yeah.
They're like, I've
And-
seen
No,
more.
I would
I've
say
seen
they're
more
awesome
baits
fish.
than you've tied on, youngster.
Or
You're
35
just
to
out of
35
there.
years old.
Oh.
The-
They're like, oh, another marabou jig, huh?
Oh,
I remember the 85 marabou jig. and
It's
they
not
look
even
a little
even
better
on
now,
both
but
sides.
James Lindner casted the hair jig.
Is that a number 2 eagle claw? Or no, that's a gamakatsu.
Are you fucking kidding
I'd
me?
break-
There's a stem in that thing.
I'd break that if I bit it anyway.
I think
I
the
would-
fishermen are getting dumber. That's the crazy thing about smallmouth, though, and those in particular, is they get so keyed in on one type of food.
Yes.
Imagine if you only ate a cheeseburger your whole life,
Looks
and
like Bart.
you saw all these like, that's steak, that's chicken,
Yeah.
not a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Nope.
Someone hands you a kid's toy that's a plastic cheeseburger. Is like, here you go. Here's your food. And you're like, well, no. What the-
I see you put ketchup on it. But
Eat it.
and the smallmouth is known for its eyesight, too.
Yeah.
So,
Very keen.
I mean, they can, if you're within 100 foot of them and the water's clear, I see you.
They know you're there.
Uncut Angle. Aaron Weeb had drone videos of Sturgeon Bay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of Sturgeon Bay, and he would put the drone up and see what they would do in the drains in Sturgeon Bay.
Oh, yeah.
When he would get close, and he would be like 75 to 100 yards away, and they'd all spook out. They'd all leave, like they all knew.
That was the hardest part about fishing there, is because you would see, like, you Google Earth Little Sturgeon Bay. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And that's partially how Dane's hair jig rod was invented, was him and I, like, spooking fish at Sturgeon Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, you needed the perfect conditions, or you needed to sneak up on them just the right way.
Yep.
As soon as you could see a bass, we couldn't catch him.
Yep, it was done.
And
it was done.
I think about how many probably scattered before we even knew how many were actually there.
Dude,
It's
imagine
crazy to
you
watch
guys
them
were
flying by your boat out of the. They're
Dude,
like,
it-
just rush out. You're like,
The place is insane.
You guys are talking about Chad's super soaker in the last episode. Just get a fucking hair jig in that thing somehow and just like as far as you can. Just spool yourself.
The one sturgeon bait thing I remember more than anything, I've told a lot of people this story, but it's anybody that's fished the sturgeon bay open knows how it gets to be like flotillas.
Mhm.
And I forget what year it was, 3-4 years ago. It was like especially bad because like the warm water was like in 2 spots.
Yeah.
Like little sturgeon had warm water on like the main flat.
Yep.
And then the
The
other
cedars and-
yeah,
yeah.
like there was like 50 boats on that flat.
Yep.
And
wild.
like it was not fun, and we're all just casting around. That's the only place you could catch them. And I'll never forget Scott Bottoма. He put down
The most gangster shit in the
it-
world.
this is the most crazy thing. I will never forget this to the day I die. He puts down outside of like 50 boats on this flat. I mean, it's 25 acres on this flat that 50 boats are spread on. But we're all, at least I thought we were. We're all just kind of wandering around casting as far as you. It's just. Everybody's throwing.
Sounds from the Surgeon Bay Open.
Everybody's just grabbing the gayest thing in their
Lord of the
town.
Rings. It's like Lord of the Rings when the elves come out and you shoot all the arrows. And it's like 1,000.
It's exactly yeah. And they're just putting up their shield. I mean,
That
you
is
see
no
somebody
oak
catch
code.
one eventually.
You shall not pass.
But that's what it was. We were all just wandering around this flat. I mean, I'm sure some guys knew what they were doing too, but like I had little areas that I thought there were more fish in, but I didn't really know what I was doing. And Scott Bottomo put down outside this like 200 yards away where he had to put down, and he trolling motored. He just weaved his way. He didn't have a rod in his hand. He just trolling motored his way, zigzagged his way all the way through everybody, like everyone. 200 yards. It took him like 10, 12 minutes to get to where he power pulled down, and he proceeded to catch the absolute fuck out of him. And he just happened to like trolling motor to like 40 yards from where I was. And I had absolutely had my boat where he ended up power pulling down probably 3 times in the last 2 hours. Like I had just been going back and forth. And he just power pulled down, and I bet he caught 20 fish in the last hour and a half, and then he had to go to weigh-in. And I was just sitting there, and it wasn't just, it was a whole bunch of us. And he caught like a 6.2 or something right in front. He fist pumped.
That's exactly what it was.
This is what happened.
3 to Does he smoke cigarettes too?
Scott Bottom, no.
No, he just does gangster shit. That's all.
We saw him.
So many big bass.
It was like the 14-20 caught. Like he'd been just jamming out, and like one he fist pumped. Like he gave and I was fishing with Matt Garfield, and me and him just looked at each other and we're like, that was a big one. Sure enough, made Facebook. Yeah, it was like a 6.5 pounder, and we're like, oh, it was right there. But
I couldn't catch one there, but Scott, I tell you what.
But what I remember is he'd cast, and he had what ended up being just a little ditch or whatever. It was a foot, 8 inches deeper than the rest of the flat, whatever. But I'd watch him, and we were right next to him. And one time I was like, all right, I never see him reel in without a fish.
Yeah.
So I was just in my head, I was like, he just catches whenever cast. So I'm like, I'm not going to reel in until he reels in.
That's how that works.
And I was just sitting there, I was like, holy fuck. And all of a sudden I was like, oh fuck, I got one. I swear his casts were like 3, 4, 5 minutes long. Like he'd put it where he knew they were going to swim. And it was like there's too many boats to like have a long cast because you just got closer to a different boat.
Yeah.
So he just put it where he knew they were gonna be,
And just wait.
and he just shake the shit out of it. He didn't touch his reel like hardly ever until it had a fish on it. I was like,
That's insane.
but it totally made sense after that. It was just funny because I was like, I was bored. I was like, he is not reeled in yet. How is he not? And all of a sudden, I realized I had a fish. I was like,
1, 2, 3 into the foe.
it was
James
nuts.
is just bored as fucking Scott's having a ball.
I would have casted 20 times in that one cast. It was
Okay.
just crazy, but
Think about it. You don't want them to follow your lure back.
yeah,
As soon as they like,
totally.
that makes perfect sense.
It changed in my mind so much because in that flat, especially with that much pressure, all those fish know where every boat is, right? I mean, the water's crystal clear. There's so many of us
Just
on that
hear
one
the
flat.
tinging going on.
There's just no way. Like, it's not like this long cast thing where you can outcast them. But he just
Gotta
sat,
sound like a fucking EDM show down there. They're like in my other electric
German
forest.
techno.
they're
Right
just
now,
down
or
there
what?
jamming. Woo!
Is this Avicii?
They come up on the deck. They're just shaking, but that's just the dance move.
When there's no one in there on like a Monday for some reason, they're like, "The fuck?
The live well's a private room.
Place is dead.
Let's go."
But I'll never forget that though. Like why are we all casting and we're not moving anywhere? Just leave the bait there.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, he just sat and
The old Minnetonka
I was like,
jiggling special.
I will not
Dude, it's not smallmouth, but like that's what I learned. Like, I fish with Adam Griffith a lot, and I mean he's a dart smoking bass fisherman, and that's like
he's
on the
too, right?
Don't touch
he's-
your lure till the
he's-
dart's gone,
dude,
baby.
he's on the back of my boat today, and we're
Ale
fishing a weed
open.
edge, and he just casts out, lights a cigarette, and just sits there, and he's just shaking. I'm like I brought my bait in already, made another cast, and he's just sitting there, and all of a sudden it's just, and he's reeling one in. I'm like, I'm gonna try that. So I'm like James said, I'm sitting
That's
there
how we
looking
all
at
start
him, and I'm
smoking.
like, yeah, exactly. I'm
Next
gonna
thing you
try
know, we're
it.
all smoking.
Yeah.
Stop
I'm
talking
looking
or
at
I'm
him.
gonna cut. It's too good a trick, dude.
Speaking of which,
But
smoke break.
no, seriously, on the Bonema thing though, what's funny
Pittsburgh.
about you and that story is it must have been a year or two before that. Dane and I were at Sturgeon Bay, and we were talking to
The year before that.
Scott Bonema in the parking lot, and there was 2 tournaments on Sturgeon Bay. We were fishing the second one, so Scott fished both of them, and he was talking about how he was sitting on this flat, and he's just not catching them, and all of a sudden the Johnston brothers just
Yes.
pull in 1, 2, 3 into the foe. Chris and Corey gonna wreck the show, or whatever.
Yeah.
And they pull up to this one spot. They make like 12 casts at this freaking thing. Catch a 6, catch a fucking 7, leave. And like that humbling like moment that pretty much most of the boats experience on Sturgeon Bay.
Like, I am not that good.
Is it just goes to show a lot of people would maybe fish that tournament and then hang their heads, maybe never show up again, right? But it's like you're almost paying tuition sometimes with
Yeah.
these tournaments, and what you learn maybe sometimes
Yeah.
not catching them sets you up like you've never been set up before.
Right.
Maybe the next time you go there to absolutely sack them up. The Scott Bonema example to
Yeah.
me is a good example of that. Is he was just frustrated as heck watching these guys just.
And he and he can't get where he wants to go. He's like, oh, screw you.
Not to keep it on just
but
sturgeon.
He learned something watching those guys do that. The angle the direction they were casting, letting their baits sit there, whatever it was. You pick up little tidbits, especially if you're fishing 20 feet away from somebody. Which, Adam, not to call you out here, but speaking of fishing 20 feet away from somebody, I do want to hear your side of this story about the river because
Oh, smoke break first.
I saw like a diagram.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about this if you want to.
Smoke break first.
I had purposely not made a post about it, but the reality of it is I pulled into an area and there was a boat sitting on a bunch of beds, and I don't think he knew he was on beds. And I went to where there was no fish, and I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to fish down this bank. and I was 25 to 50 yards away. Like I'm fishing with the tournament director. I literally looked at him. I was like, "Are we good?" And he's like, "Yeah, we're fine."
I more so. I saw a little bit about one side of the story. I mostly just wanted to give you the opportunity to kind of clear the air on it, and I wanted to have kind of a general discussion about boat etiquette while we're on the Sturgeon Bay Flotilla.
Yeah.
While we're on the spawning season, which to me is kind of like the spawning season to me is the gray area for where you should and shouldn't put your boat. It makes
for the Bud Light
the spawn makes every spot you're gonna fish smaller if it's a bed.
Yeah,
especially if we're talking smallmouth bass.
Well, yeah,
so,
and I mean,
like, I didn't know how it all went down. I missed the tournament, so honestly, this is me asking like out of curiosity.
Your sister should feel terrible. I would skip her next wedding.
I'm not trying to put nobody on blast. I mean, more so like I don't think you were trying to be a dick if I was to guess.
No, and I mean, I think everybody who knows me would know that. Like I don't.
You cut him off like right at the knees
on purpose,
and then
absolutely
pointed a gun at him.
That's what I heard.
Yes, absolutely. That's
I just tweeted it again.
Yeah, I heard rumors about it.
I guess what's a fair when it's spring, right? Water's muddy.
This is my thing, and I guess and my first bed tournament I ever fished was actually it was on Woman back in the day when they were still doing the North Stars and Fishers of Men and stuff up there. But like if you're on a bed, that's your spot. And like I remember the infamous Chapman scuba story he told. I was the boat right next to him when he pulled up and put the mask on the first time and did the dive. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. But like like this is the thing. He pulls up and they just look at us and they're like, "You're on the 5 1/4, right?" And I'm like, "Yep." And they're like, "Okay, we're gonna take the 5-10 or whatever." And I'm like, "Cool."
And John took one.
And John literally was there, and like we're all within, I don't know, 20
garage width of each other. At points, everybody's trolling motors within 15 feet of each
other.
Exactly. But you're fishing your bed.
Exactly. And there's been spawning tournaments I've fished before, like when we were on Tonka once. Like there was a time I was literally fishing a bed and like, you're being courteous to each other, and Zach Hartley and Zach Beek are in front of me and they're fishing one and they're kind of slowly drifting backwards while I'm casting at this fish. And I literally said to Hartley, I'm like, "Hey, Zach, can you pull forward a little bit?" He's like, yeah, sorry, my bad. Why? And I'm like, "Well, I need to set the hook on this fish, and if I set the hook, I'm gonna hit your prop. Like I'm gonna lose it." So, like that's how close you're getting. And I think it's just, and now like that's also like we've all talked and are doing that. Well, when we got down there, like I guess when I had pulled into that area, like on the river, I'm sure you've seen this from your experience there with smallmouth and where they spawn down there. They spawn in very specific areas. Yep. And it's like they will get very jam-packed, I will say, compared to on a big flat on a lake where they'll kind of aimlessly be around.
I'm going to need somebody to show me where they get jam-packed because I cannot find them stupid things.
Well, and that's
I need an idea of what
they're very easy. They're very easy to miss. And
yes, they are.
Yeah, they're very easy to miss.
The marinas.
And they do. They always. Yeah. I mean,
swear
river tip 101. Just go to a marina.
You
probably won't win, but you weigh a good bag. But anyways, like they pack in. So when I'd come in there, I'm like, "Hey, I was beat," and the area I had gone to, like, there's current there. They're not spawning there. Like they're maybe pulling through there pre-spawn, post-spawn, whatever, but they're not sitting there to spawn. I had 2 that were marked from when I was there in practice because I'd gone through that area when nobody was there with a cut bait, and like I also could visually see some, and I mean I could see some other ways too, but I had shaken off a bunch of them and I'd caught a couple, so I knew there were a couple big ones there, and I'd pulled a few up and been like, "Hey, that one's really big," and I had a couple marked. Well, I had 2 further down, and that's where I was like, "Hey, I'll just go to those," but like I had told my partner when we were idling down, there was one all by itself behind one rock in that current, and that was pretty close to him, the situation we're talking about. It was very close. Like, if I had cut off, like, I literally looked at Matt and I said, "There's a really big one right there, but that would be too close." And I kept going, and that fish ended up, I think it was a big fish at a tournament.
Sure.
And I, like that was too close. Like I wasn't going to do that. So I went further down and I caught the 2 I had marked. That was it. And it was a 126 and a 152. And I packed up and I left.
Sure.
And that was kind of it. Like, I don't know. There was some big hubbub that blew up about it. I didn't really think much of it just because I was like, this is a bed tournament and maybe they didn't know they were betters. Like,
I heard he jumped on their deck and was fishing from the deck of their boat.
that's basically what happened.
No, I'll be honest. I was genuinely curious because there was a drawing. There was like a diagram out there. And like, okay, let's take bed fishing out of the equation. Let's say it was end of June. Like, or July, right?
Yeah.
And that diagram, like...
Yeah, and at that
The
point in
big thing
time,
for
I would
me-
never pull in there. Because then that's cutting off. You're cutting someone off fishing something.
That makes perfect sense because to me, like, if you have a good boat draw and you start on a spot and it's a bank, and a guy pulls in behind you and in front of you, you almost want the later boat draw It totally defeats the
Bart
purpose.
would feel
but
right at home with the guy in front of him.
if they have
about
beds
it.
marked,
Oh, Eiffel Tower himself.
on shore or along that bank, it's almost like they obviously, you think they knew they were spawning, or you think
I
they
think
don't?
now in retrospect,
They maybe do.
Now they do. I think in retrospect, they had probably gone in there and just fished riprap because there was riprap, and they'd caught a few, and didn't know that like. And
So that makes
also,
sense why they were upset then.
Yeah,
right?
and I also like I went to school in Winona. Like I'm pretty familiar with those pools. Like that area, in my opinion, is probably one of the bigger community holes on 6.
Sure.
Not saying there's any reason for that, but like that was one area where that happened. Dude, there was another bank where there was 7 boats that started.
Sure.
And like this area where said diagram was drawn, there were 2 other boats further up that aren't even talked about. There was 5 of us in there. Like,
Right,
there was
right.
a lot of us in there. It wasn't like there was just that.
I think the
Were there
biggest-
words exchanged?
It was, so that's the other thing. I think in that situation, right, like I had assumed I was doing the right thing, so I went up, past the casting distance, 25 to 50 yards away, and start doing my thing. And they caught their big one, and we were like congratulating, talking, and we caught a little one, and we were jokingly like, oh, we'll trade. And there was maybe like a word said of like, oh, that's like karma or something, and I was like, oh, I can move forward if you want me to. And there was just nothing said, and I was like, okay. But then I ended up leaving 5 minutes later anyways.
When
So-
you pulled in, did you say, hey, I'm looking to fish this bed, and are you...
No, and in
that?
retrospect, that's probably the only area where like I should have just been like, what's going on in here?
Sure.
But I guess, and that's, you assume you make an ass out of you and me, right? That's the good old
I get
saying.
that. Yep.
But like I assumed, like I saw 2 boats literally sitting on 14 of my waypoints. And I was like, well, fuck. And I was like, I'm
So
going to
that
go
was
up
like
here.
you trying to like get somewhere. at
That was
that
me
point.
just trying to get somewhere and get out of the way.
Yeah.
And I thought I was. So I was like, okay. And then, like I said, I was there for like...
Because you knew about the bed that they were about to be fishing, and you were like, what you're saying is you gave that to them.
Well, I
So
don't
you
want to
felt
say
like-
that because I
you
feel like
felt
that's
like
a
you
bit
made-
of a dickish thing to
No,
say.
no,
but
no,
like,
no.
yes.
But like that's where their boat was, right? So
Yeah,
you,
like,
it's
they
not
were-
like you came in
they
and
were
were
probably
trying to catch their fish.
Yeah, they were like 20 to 50
gave
feet
them
from that
the bed
and
you
I was-
wanted.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, whatever.
And then you kind of fished your own deal down the bank, but you
Exactly.
assumed that they would be fine because you knew the beds ended at the bed they were at.
Yes.
And you're like, well,
And I
maybe
knew
some
it-
pulled up, and I'm just gonna make some room here.
Yeah, maybe some are swimming through
I'm
this
just gonna make sure
current
that's the
area,
only
and I
bed
can
they
get
get.
stupid lucky.
You know,
And
Well,
yeah,
no, because when they pulled in, that's the thing. When I pulled in, they were sitting right on top of like 8 waypoints, and then I went 20 to 50 yards up, and like I put my trolling motor down, and like the first thing I always do in the morning, I put the trolling motor down, I grab the net, pull it out, set it down, and I throw in a chew. And that's what I do literally every tournament the first time, and then I go up and I start casting. Well, in that time, which takes about a minute, all of a sudden they're like up on me. And I was like, oh, okay. And I like turn my trolling motor up and I go way further up to where I had the 2 marked that were like behind
I'd be
another
up on
tree.
you. I'd be like grabbing my turf, dude.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And that's exactly what I thought. I was like, okay, he's just making sure I'm not going to come further back. And like, that's fine because like there's literally 17 pounds sitting right there.
So to me, I think the big lesson learned with this is like communication fixes everything.
Yes,
you know?
absolutely.
Most divorces are caused by finances or communication, and you could say most altercations on the water happen the same way.
Or cheating whores.
And misunderstandings. And I guess, no, that wasn't to throw shade at you at all, dude. It was more so to have the general discussion of like what's too close. Because James and I ran into a similar scenario last spring on the horseshoe chain.
Yeah.
Where he had some bedfish, and we feel like these guys found
Basically the
smallmouth
same scenario.
down this bank, but they maybe didn't know they were spawning. So one thing that I noticed James did that I thought was a good thing to do, because we did like pull in front of them, but it's because we wanted to fish the bed,
Yeah.
and that's all we wanted to fish.
And
we
they
didn't
did
want to
call
fish
us
the
out.
bank.
They called us out on it.
Yeah.
They said, really? And I said, we're fishing that. I mean,
Yep. So James and me is like, we're fishing a bed. You know, that's all we're doing. We're not trying to be whatever about it. And I think they might have been a little upset. And I know the guy. He's a good dude, and he's fine.
the
Like,
other
but-
thing I'd point out on that situation, it was a no-wake tournament. We had been idling for 45 minutes to get to
no wake tournament on the horseshoe chain.
Yeah,
not
that
real
sounds
fun.
not fun.
Not ideal to begin with, but it did stretch how close I was going to. They weren't. When we started idling towards that bed, they were 200 yards away from it, fishing down the bank. By the time we got to the bed, they were probably 50 yards, still going towards the bed. But I knew they weren't fishing the bed. When
They're
we
just
started
fishing down the bank.
down the
Correct.
bank.
Yeah.
So it's not like we were gonna like keep going down the bank to
Yeah,
prevent
yeah.
them
Yeah.
like from
In,
fishing
out.
the bank. Like, no, we are
I said-
fishing this 2-foot crater,
Specific spot.
2-foot crater.
Yep.
And
what
then
we're
we're
fishing.
leaving.
Yep.
Then
Yeah.
we're out. Like,
Yep.
we ain't trying to be dicks here.
Yeah,
Just
I'm
trying to
fishing
catch
that
our-
bed, and then we're going to.
You should have idled to that fucking crater
Right.
if you wanted to be on
And
that
they-
fucking
I don't-
crater.
don't
that's-
think they knew
that's
about it.
So
basically-
that's like what I wanted to discuss here,
Yeah.
because
And that's
to me that's a gray area.
Yeah.
It's a gray area.
And that's basically what I did. I pulled up. I was like, hey, my 2 points are right here. They're 10 feet in front of me. And I'm like making some casts because those two I literally couldn't see. I just knew they were, because like
Yeah.
everything else is on beds. I'm like, these two are on beds. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not drawing any, I'm not going to be dumb here. That's what they're doing. Threw at those two, picked my trolling motor up, idled up to where I'd caught a largemouth. And like that was another 75 yards up or whatever. Flipped there for a little bit. And then me and my partner we actually went back down then and behind them. And then fished down a little bit, and we didn't catch anything and left. Like that's kind of it. And I guess, I mean, for me, it was it's the whole thing with reading the rules and everything too. Like there was no rules ever broken. And I guess the only part that like,
the rules were there on that.
well, it's 25 yards.
Got it.
But then I think there's also a thing you
Touch
have to
back
read.
away.
You have to read too of like if a trolling motor's down or you're anchored type of thing. Like it's that weird stuff. And I think it maybe needs to eventually get updated in terms of bass fishing in general, because like nobody uses an anchor, unless shallow water anchors.
Tony Hatton, I've seen use a cinder block
Oh,
tied
really?
to rope on Woman
That's
Lake
super
to
sick.
bedfish.
Oh,
He's
really?
pretty
And throw it
gangster.
up, and then you look
Yeah.
around and you're like,
Shout
"Get the
out
fuck
Tony
away."
Hatton, gangster. Yeah.
That's actually super smart.
Yeah.
But I guess the thing for me was, and then we
12
can
feet of water.
move on to
Raptors.
something else. But the thing for me was the call out of sportsmanship, because I was like, I feel like I've had a pretty good run around here of being a good sport and being nice to everybody, and I was like, come on, does anyone actually think I would go do that? And that's where
for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I know James does.
I don't know.
But,
I don't like when you get close to me.
Yeah.
Stay away.
But I mean, this also runs back to, and it's not in a defense of anything I did, but I'll forever remember this. I was fishing on Minnetonka, and it was a weed line derby, and I believe it was Seth, but I was young, so, and I'm trying to remember, but
Seth's cut me off 3 times at least. In
Dude,
my life.
I was fishing this. I was fishing this. I pull up to this edge.
Oh, you wanted to be on this dock? Well, why weren't you there?
Yeah.
Dude, and this was the exact quote. I pull up to this weed
you know?
edge. I look at my partner, and I'm like, we're going to work this edge down to, that's where they are. And I pull 25, 50 yards away from it. Come zipping in, and I'm kind of like, what the hell? And it's greatest line of all time. If you want to be on the juice, be on the juice. And I was like, yeah, I guess I should have just pulled up right there and then worked around there.
Was this offshore though?
Yes.
2 points on. I would say
Yeah.
one of the biggest things on it is you guys were fishing 2 different things. You were fishing beds. He was fishing a bank in that.
Yes.
And the other thing that I think makes a big difference is that down south there is no this is my stretch. There's no when you fish out of state, everybody's elbow to elbow. If you're not where you want to be, then you should have been.
Yeah.
And so if you fish down south and then come back to Minnesota,
Yeah.
It's a completely different.
it's just a little bit different
It's
etiquette.
like ledge fishing.
Because
I was gonna ask him about FLW shit and how different that is and how cutthroat that was.
Lake ledges,
How many
Cody?
times Scott Martin cut him off?
Just
or
like the
something.
walleye guys not feeling bad about drifting
I saw his
5 feet
eyes
from
light
your
up.
boat because that's what they do to each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And then in Minnesota,
Exactly.
yeah,
Do you want me to say it?
I mean, FLW boat etiquette. What's that like?
Oh, yeah. Well,
Generally,
I mean,
and you probably have some specific examples.
I
to
mean,
boot.
I do. But generally, you better speak up or you're going to get your ass run over. Like, these guys, especially with a young guy,
Right.
they're going to put, especially some of the alpha, Shooter McGavins that are in the tournaments.
Shooter,
we'll meet you on the green.
Yeah.
18th green it.
gold jacket, green jacket. Who gives a shit?
They'll
I played off Frankenstein's foot.
You eat pieces of shit for breakfast?
No. But these guys, they'll push you just to push you and see how far they can get with you, so that the next time they know that they can run right over you. And
So you're a punk. Give
Yeah,
me an
I'm
example of
you
that.
punk ass bitch.
You've been people trying to push you around, little boy.
Well,
little boy.
I remember my first year on tour. We were fishing Lake Lanier, and I was fishing a brush pile that was maybe the half size of this ping pong table. And I'm fishing it, and Scott Martin rolls up right next to me to fish that brush pile. And I had an ex-FLW employee who's been there for 20 years, and he's this hard dude. He's he looks at me, he's like, if you don't say something to that motherfucker right now, I'm going to take you out back and whoop you when we get off this boat. And I'm like,
Hello, Mr. Scott.
oh,
Beautiful
I'm
weather.
and so I got him in the back, and I got him over there. I'm like,
You've
oh,
got a hot daughter.
I'm like, yeah, congratulations on the graduation.
I heard she's 18.
But anyway, so I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, what do you mean? I'm fishing. There's something along those lines. It's been a while, but he basically just told me, he's like, you just don't know how this game works yet, do you? And I've been around long enough. I've never seen something like that before. I'm fishing this brush pile. There's if you give me 5 minutes, I'll be gone. I'm just gonna catch a spot off this and go to the next one. He's like, you just don't understand how it works. Rips up and gone. And my co-angler's like, you got to do that, otherwise they're gonna run over you. And at the weigh-in, he comes up to me and he's like, I like the way you handled yourself out there. I'm like, what the way I handled myself? I'm like, hey, motherfucker, I'm poor. You're rich. I'm trying to make some money.
I've been shaking for the last 6 hours.
I have been convulsing.
I cooked ramen in the back of my truck last night.
Look, I've been eating peanut butter for weeks.
Been eating campfire ramen for weeks.
I went through a week's worth of anxiety medication since that fucking
And
meetup.
beef ramen, chicken ramen, ramen noodle soup, all of that shit.
But that was such a eye-opening experience for. I mean, I wasn't young, but I was still
Green.
green,
Yeah.
very green.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, when you're I remember my first boat draw at Okeechobee.
I was gonna say
stuck.
blowjob. I was like, boy, we fucking really changed up.
Yeah, they make me gag. But I was stuck.
Keep at it.
Scott Martin was in front of me, and Brian Thrift was behind me. And that was like the most eye-opening experience.
Is this
like,
the blowjob story still?
well, it was no. This is the.
I didn't know
But
you
it
were
was
such
just-
a skier.
Cows, Wisconsin.
Yes.
Got to get 2
Milk.
hands going.
That is not.
Milk, cheese. That's where it comes from.
That's not milk, Cody. Get it out of your mouth.
What?
But it is dairy.
But I was gonna go and talk about like ledge fishing etiquette, because that is such. I mean, if you don't say something when you're coming into a group of ledge fishermen, either you have to say something to be a part of the community. Otherwise, if you don't say something, that's not okay. Like, you ask if you can come and fish. If you just come and fish, that's not going to be all right with the group, because we're already fishing this.
I always tell them
And
if you're
it's-
coming in.
Yeah. It's,
Hey guys, do you mind if I position my boat here near this ledge? Hey, I see you're fishing the front half of the ledge. Do you mind if do you want me to pop in here on the middle, or do you want me to pop in behind and chuck at the old E-Tech there, Bill?
Any chance you could fuck off?
You're not part of the community.
you ain't part of the community. Well, if you ever been on like a strong, like,
You're a damn Yankee boy.
yeah, get on there.
Get on back to Yankee.
You're not from
boy.
around here, are
We've been
you?
fishing this ledge for 35 years.
That stump there, I cut down that tree.
When the lake was built.
House was built off that brick. But yeah, like if you're in a group of people and you're all lined up bumper to bumper, if someone just comes in like right next to you, that's not necessarily okay. And they just put their head down and start fishing. Like,
Who's this motherfucker?
Who's this motherfucker? Yeah, no.
Border Patrol! Border Patrol!
Yeah.
Whereas,
like,
Whose
you
goddamn
have
Blue
to- you have
Phoenix
to,
is
like, express that you're actually coming in.
20 PHX?
Yeah.
Yeah, express that you're coming in and your intentions of what you're gonna do with our spot.
Yeah.
Like
I'm
Cody-
coming in and I'm fixing to
Cody
whoop y'all's
literally
ass.
told me because I was going down to check.
What are you doing in our town? And what do you plan to do here, boy?
no.
Exactly.
What are your
Yeah.
intentions with my school?
Cody told
My
me
daughter's
when I was,
down there.
When I was going down to Chicken Eufaula, I knew there's gonna be some ledge fish.
You're
I
going
didn't
down
end
on
up
a chicken you follow.
Yeah, exactly. But I didn't end up going to Chick. But yeah, there we
Nice
go.
run.
That worked even better. But
Some
I didn't
gator
end up
stuff.
going there, but I talked to Cody about ledge fishing, and I was like, all right, like, it gets crowded. Like, what am I supposed to do? And that's what he told me. He's like, don't just pull up. And he's like, here's the deal.
Pack a
Everybody,
shotgun?
he's
Pack
like,
a shotgun.
everybody finds the same stuff. Just pull up and be like, hey, man, can I get in? And he's like, basically everybody's going to be like, yeah, come on in. But he's like, but if you just pull up, they're going to fucking kill you.
Yeah,
Like,
they'll
you
be
just have to say
extremely
something.
pissed. Like, acknowledge that you're there. Like, yeah, I know this is here too. Not because you're there, but I got the waypoint. Like,
Knock before you enter. You
Yeah.
know, like
like, that
Everything
goes a
besides
long
a
way.
pelican.
That just like diffuses the situation. You're like, well, I mean,
well, this sucks, but I'm joining you, boys.
Exactly.
because it is what it is.
Yeah.
And then everybody's like, welcome to the party. Like, they're,
and then
they're
you're
like,
like-
hey, we're all cool.
Yeah.
They're pulling curtain about 12 minutes.
Yeah, but it's
Exactly.
It's funny in those groups.
The
You'll
real
be, like,
veteran's eating
talking
a
with
sandwich.
each
He's
other.
like, they ain't gonna bite till the dam opens. Just eating a sandwich. Spot
Bob's
locked
trying
right
a Nico rig. I
Yeah.
got a drop shot soaking out there. They're about to pull curtain in about 12 minutes. Get your Tet XD ready. Until then, we soak. Bill over there's got a shaky head. John's got a. I think he's trying that new. What is it? Hover rig, John? It's a hover rig, John.
I'm just hovering right
Yeah.
here.
And old Jansen over there. He won't put the Carolina rig down.
He's just drinking beer and hanging out.
I've seen some like when you're side by side with a couple people, you'll almost be talking like they'll catch a fish. You're like, go, get back in there, fire him up. Because like if you fire him up, it's good for everybody, and
For
then
sure.
you get a piece of it. Because if you don't fire him up, you're not going to catch the biggest ones in the school, and then you're all fucked.
But we all know there's one guy on the fucking juice.
Where you're like, fuck that guy.
You're like,
and
Can I have
You're
some
like,
scraps? Like
you're
everybody
like-
else. is
You're
like,
sitting there, you're like, I have that fucking waypoint.
everybody else is the
35 feet back.
peasants
That's my
outside the
waypoint.
castle. Like,
where it starts to get tense is where like the guy with the line is catching him, and everyone is just like squeezing, just slowly.
Like you tap off,
closer
you
and
hear
closer.
someone tap off their spot lock, and then like
And then-
10 seconds later, click it again.
dude, imagine before
That's
Ultrex.
what I was gonna say.
Imagine the Fortrex like dynamic
God.
of that. Like, oh, he got one. Get ready. Oh, he's off. He's off. Get up there. Get up there. Everybody's like punching each other to get on the spot.
I'll never forget there was a lake over it's over by Alexandria. It was the North Star Series, and first, second, third, we all came off one rock pile. And it was Shane Raveling, I think it was Putnam, and then it was me.
Sounds like Ida. Or no. It sounds like Reno.
I think that's
Reno. One rock pile, my bad. Reno.
it. One rock pile.
Reno.
But Shane was the only one that had spot lock, and we started on the fucker. And we
Shane had spot lock before anybody.
first time
motor guy.
Yeah,
XI5.
yeah. He had his big walleye boat. But we had no idea. The first time on the lake, we totally lucked into this spot. We didn't know that it was any better than anything else. We got a couple in practice. We're like,
Saw a walleye boat on it. Has to be good.
we started on it like 7 minutes in the tournament. Both Putnam and Raveling came over and they're like, how'd you guys know about this spot? We're like, we didn't know it was a spot. We probably were going to leave soon.
You see Shane pull up, and you like look at your buddy. You're like, hey,
Fast
we're-
forward 7
we're
hours.
hanging out now.
We're all there 7 hours later, still catching them. But at one point, we were like right in the middle, just trying to stay like right. We didn't really even know what we were on, but we're like, but we could kind
Chapman shit I've ever heard in my
could
life.
kind of tell where they wanted to be. So we're just like meandering in the middle, and then we got a good one, and we're fighting it, and he netted it, and we sit up, and boy, if Shane didn't fucking weasel his way right into the middle and spot lock. It was like probably 10:30. He didn't fish off the front of his boat again the rest of the day.
Oh, dude.
This fucker just sat in the back of the boat flipping. Oh, he was right on the juice fishing off the back deck of his big walleye boat. We're out there with the freaking vortexes.
Oh, he's probably like, took you long enough to catch one. Jeez.
I mean, we had all caught a
Been
bunch.
waiting like 20 minutes to get on that. Jeez.
We had
I knew it was a
caught-
matter of time.
We had
Took
caught
you
good
so long.
ones, but that was like the one that we fought the longest. And by the time we turned around, he had just floated right back on top. And I was like, man, that spot lock stuff, that's the deal. And literally, he didn't fish off the front of the boat for like 3 or 4 hours. And we're sitting there, every fish we catch, we're getting pushed further off. And if he wants to adjust at that point, he adjusts towards where we were, because that's...
Defense.
Well, Chappie,
20
that's
feet.
like it was that. I mean, it was that woman derby that you ended up winning, but Aaron had a Tarova, so he had spot lock, and it was blowing 3-footers up there. So every one we had marked, I'd just go to the top side of the wind, I'd hit spot lock, and I'm like, all right, baby. And you just go to the back, and you just start pitching.
Yeah, spot lock definitely changed. I mean, the ledge game, I can't imagine before spot lock how much, a little bit of wind, how much
Yeah.
bumper boats and stop,
man.
like spot stealing. Somebody
Yeah.
slides in as soon as,
Yep.
especially by yourself for some of those tournaments. Dude, like those elites, you got to go down and grab a fish
Yeah.
and then put it in the live. You're 40 yards away from where you wanted to
And
be.
Boat control's a big deal, man.
And
Boat
the-
control's huge.
Yeah.
Cody,
And
with
the
the-
shuffling, like you have to get that line.
Yeah.
If you miss that line and someone slides in, you're like, hey, like,
Yeah.
that's it. You lost it.
Yeah.
It's like that person in front of you when people are merging and they're like
Yeah.
braking.
Yeah.
The fuck are you doing? Go! There's no way this is a male driving.
Yeah.
On Kentucky Lake, correct?
Yeah, I was on Kentucky Lake.
So, how was that experience qualifying for the tour and fishing Kentucky Lake ledges?
Well, at the time, I was pretty inexperienced at ledge fishing, and like coming from not fishing TVA ever, not knowing anything about TVA, that's pretty daunting. Like the ledge fishing.
Did you
deal.
quit the last day like Randy Haynes?
Yeah, I was done. I pouted in the corner.
Hey, maybe just the story wasn't told right. Maybe Randy, there was a cop that died on a bridge that morning, and he just couldn't make it to the tournament to fish his ledge.
I will say
Yeah.
there's a lot of previous history between those two that led up to that point that is untold.
They no like each other.
No, no, and that had been going on for years and years before that, and
I was at least hoping for fight instead of flight.
Yeah.
Like, to be honest with
Yeah.
you, for a response. For a trauma
that would've-
response, I was hoping for
Could you
fight instead
imagine
of
those
flight.
two rumbling?
It'd be cool. Like, dude,
Randy's a big dude,
Yeah.
and
Jason Lambert's a big
Jason
dude.
is a big dude.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't fuck with either
Clash,
their
no.
arms or legs.
No.
No.
No,
Getting a donkey kick from either of those guys would be painful.
that would be horrible.
Yeah.
But if you have never fished a ledge tournament, especially without forward-facing sonar or not knowing anything about ledge fishing or realizing largemouth actually like current, and eat, get offshore.
do?
Yeah,
In the summer,
I guess so.
when the water's warm enough. Yeah.
I guess so.
If the water's warm enough, they love it.
Intermission.
Yeah, do we have
I
to
gotta
pee?
take a piss.
Yeah, like, hey.
I
don't
peed in my
fucking hold
bottle
it.
twice over
Don't
here.
ever feel like you have to hold it. It's
I
bad
have
for your
peed
prostate.
I have peed on the floor twice.
I've got 2 full Gatorade bottles.
Oh, you did? Okay, good.
These are not lemon Gatorades.
Don't hold back. I got spare underpants. We're good. I got spares.
All the cool kids are pissing their
In Minnesota.
August 1st.
unless you're in a lake, and then
Close
they're gonna
enough.
kill all of it.
It's the same.
Same.
Weed lives matter.
Weed is legal. Put in
Legalize
lakes,
weed in Minnesota.
nuke it.
Not in lakes, man. Not in the lakes.
Was that good? You didn't even drink all.
No, it was enough. I'll drink the
Dude,
rest.
Dane and I went to a lake on Monday, Memorial Day, and I don't know if it killed or if it got nuked or if it just got nuked because it killed. Like, it was one of those situations where it was like the Dead Sea, and Are you ready to reel in your next home purchase or refinance? Supreme Lending's Dream Team can help guide you through the entire mortgage process, from pre-qualification to closing. They have a wide variety of home loan programs in their tackle box, including down payment assistance and first-time homebuyer options. Just ask me. I trusted Aaron Dagas, a bass fisherman just like you and me, and Supreme Lending's Dream Team to help finance my first home. Contact Aaron Dagas and the Dream Team today by scanning the QR code or giving them a call at 763-326-0677. That's 763-326-0677. Did I catch a 7 in there? Or visit their website, aarondages.supremelending.com. That's AARONDAEGES.supremelending.com. This podcast is brought to you by my brother from another mother, my tournament partner, and the best rod builder north of the equator that still has 20/20 vision, Veselka Fishing and Customs, specializing in custom fishing rods. Your custom rod, the way you want it, because it has to be your rod. However, he has a wide variety to choose from, including his all-new for 2023 custom chicken rod. If you throw the big fluff, the hairy Gary, the rotisserie dissery, the half-ounce Palomalu, the 3/4-ounce rooster biscuit, the lightener looking like D. Snyder, you're going to want to be throwing the Veselka Fishing Chicken Special Big Hair Jig Rod. Mr. Veselka spent a lot of time on this rod, and it has the perfect action to throw, hook, and land those fish that you maybe pulled the bait out from because the rod was too stiff, or had them spit it because your rod didn't have the backbone. Well, the new Chicken Special from Veselka Fishing and Customs has worked to solve both of those issues, along with superior balance and quality components. So head on over to his website, veselkafishing.com. That's VOCELKA fishing.com. Pick this rod up before it's too late, because up here in the North Country, they about to be schooling. The orange sign on every shoreline, on everybody's property. And it was almost like, well, all the fish died, so we might as well kill all the grass and make this like a swimming pool.
Well, dude, I don't get
Like,
why
it was the most depressing thing I've ever seen.
I don't get why people are spraying much
seen a
this year
Holocaust movie.
because
It was.
with the
It looked
amount
like
of-
an Auschwitz gas chamber
with the
underwater.
amount of snow we had this
That's
year,
tough.
a ton of the weeds died anyways. like in a lot of lakes that don't even, have a ton of spraying.
So you
a
think
lot
the
of
orange
weeds die.
signs were natural? Is what you're saying? Those
Yeah.
were organic,
They
blaze
grew.
orange
They grew.
signs saying
Orange.
aquatic
Moon face.
decimation, aquatic genocide, orange
Moon
signs,
face.
Moon face.
moon underfoot.
And under penis.
Every genocide happens
No,
naturally.
dude, they gotta quit that shit. Like
that
the
lake that
the
you're
dumbest
talking
thing
about,
to
though,
me
should die out.
is when they spray curly leaf pondweed.
Yeah.
It's like it's gonna die in a week, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like this guy who has
And then they're like, look, it worked.
it's this guy who's like
It's like, no, the water
You-
hit 70 degrees.
well, it's like you're sentenced to death in a week and you know it, right?
Yeah.
You have 7 days to live your life knowing you're gonna die in 7 days, right? And all of a sudden, like
bad
somebody's
The
like
dude-
that.
the
Nope.
The dude's
7 days early.
the guy's wife that you killed comes.
Yes. Yes.
Avenged.
Yes.
Well, that'd make him feel better, though.
Why would you spray curly leaf pondweed? It is the dumbest thing.
It's because they have absolutely no idea what
We
they're
had
doing.
that on our cabin lake. It was
Is our taxes paying for them to spray curly leaf pondweed?
No.
Because I really question the people
Most of it,
making
no,
decisions
but
if
some of
that is what our tax dollars are going for.
The home association pages are just absolutely ridiculous. My parents, they're like, and then I end up on Lake
It's a
Sylvia.
cold water grass.
These people,
you don't
they
swim when
have
it grows.
no idea what they're talking about. I mean, the comment sections are just bizarre.
It's dying already, dude. It's the first week of June and it's already dying without spraying a fucking leaf.
When the Starry Stormwort thing came out on Coronas 2 years ago or whatever, these lake association pages, I mean, they were going nuts. Or like, talked to somebody, said you can't drive anywhere on the lake. That it's taken over the entire lake. I'm like, literally, you can't even tell it's out. There's one little corner of the lake that used to be choked out by one weed, and now it's choked out by another.
Dude, Starry Stormwort's
Like,
been in
nobody-
there for years.
Years.
Years longer than they discovered it.
They just tested for it, and they're like, oh, it's here now. And you're like, no, you just never tested for it before.
That's like when they...
Karen, we've been catching that shit since the 90s.
That
Karen.
whole, the bay that they like freak out
Jeez.
about is choked out every year midsummer. The whole, no matter what, forever, it's choked out with some sort of weed. And they're like, oh yeah, you can't even drive out there. It's taking over the lake. It's like, you guys, it's taking over the lake. You think it grows in 90 feet away? Like, it grows in one spot. You guys are ridiculous. They're like, pretty soon we won't be able to even swim in our lake if that gets here.
I really think like they were doing like a survey on the lake and they're like, hey, do you think this is the year we should kind of figure out what the fuck this shit is? You know?
I've had so many arguments with some
been
people
seeing-
on this.
You know, maybe this is the year we'll convince Boss Man to run those extra tests.
I've been seeing
We've
all
been
these
bugging him
weird
about
clam
We got a
things on
gavel
these
in
weeds.
the city council.
They're like, oh, it spreads by boats because like the percentage of tests that are near boat landings is higher. I'm like, oh yeah, you know when they go test a lake, where do you think they fucking start? They drop the boat in and they take a left. And they get like 300 yards, and they turn around and go 300 yards on the other side. And they're like, oh yeah, it's near the landing. And they're like, oh yeah, all the milfoil or all the start, it's all by the landing. We didn't check the other side, but you know, like how dumb do you guys have to be?
Hey, Bill. Hey, Bill. Do you think we should just make do you think we should tell Boss about the unrooted part, the fact that it's an algae? I think we should hide that from him just because it'd be funny. You know what I mean?
Boss don't give a shit.
Boss
all
don't give a
right?
shit.
It's so ridiculous. All
They got their
basically-
fundraising dollars. The fundraisers are over for the Lake Association, Bob.
Today was a good example where I was for my tournament today. The guy that was checking the boats, we pull out, boat's still draining out of live wells are draining. I hadn't taken the bilge or the
Plug.
plug out yet.
The plug for your boat.
There's weeds like all over the bottom of the boat. Like
Everywhere.
Like there's multiple weeds hanging from the trailer touching the cement. And he just goes, "Yeah, you're good."
James is like,
And
there's
I'm like-
47 Cabbage Patch dolls under this boat right now.
I just looked at Dino. I was like, why do you even walk over here? Like,
Obviously, it wasn't Tom Sawyer.
what's
Dude.
the? Yeah.
It was not Tom Sawyer.
I just don't get
That
how
guy at least cared. That
Days
guy at
Tom
least
Sawyer gets
cared.
high on you.
I don't get how anyone lives on a lake and they're like, you know what's good for this lake? When you see someone with a fucking fire hose,
Yeah.
just going.
I think that's called
Of all the
a
weed
pressure
killer.
washer, Adam.
I don't know, man. Have you seen some of the shit on Minnetonka?
No.
They're launching it like 25 yards.
There's some-
It's insane. They
Get
go
the
around-
bazooka!
Dude, they like pull into a bay.
Why
Like,
won't you die?
me and Griff have been in a bay fishing a weed hedge, like catching them. We're like, this is so fun.
It's
And then all of a sudden you
milfoil.
see them enter and start spraying, and you're like, no, no, no.
Yo, weren't we talking about how you like qualified for the FLW tour?
I had one more good.
Go
Yeah.
quick. Make it.
It's like if there's poison ivy in woods and they're just like, let's burn this whole place down.
That's the exact same thing. Yeah.
It's not bothering anybody, but if somebody did walk through there, they'd be itchy for days. We should burn this whole
It
fucking
would
thing
like
down.
trip them. And
Yeah, like, can't have that. We should burn the entire.
Burn the whole thing down, and they just look at each other. They're like, we did it.
And then we'll
Breaking
be.
news: poison ivy is developed in Itasca State Forest, so we've decided to burn
And then we'll
the
take a pic.
headwaters of the Mississippi down.
We'll just take a
Controlled
picture in front of
burns
it.
have become uncontrolled.
Please donate for next year's burn.
Okay.
Anyways.
Back to
Yeah.
Cody. Qualifying for the FLW tour.
Yeah, what?
All right,
How'd
so
you do that?
how'd I do
What
that?
in the
Dang, son.
clusterfuck
Well, I
How'd
was,
you
happened?
do that?
I was a young child at the time. I had high aspirations to become an FLW Tour Pro. And, well, there was one hiccup in the way. It was Kentucky Lake ledge fishing. And the couple times I have gone ledge fishing, either I had no idea what I was doing or I just avoided it. But it was like prime time ledge fishing on Kentucky Lake. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. I don't know what they do. I don't even know. I kind of know what they look like on the graph, but I don't know if it's carp, catfish, whatever the hell I'm looking at. And I have one buddy who lives down there, and he's like, dude, you'll be fine. It's not that big of a deal. Just commit to it. Commit to it. You'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. Well, I'm committing to it, and I'm marking all these things that I think are bass, and a couple of them I casted on, and I've caught a bass, but I don't know if it's a school or if it's an individual bass. So
Well, and Cody, casting on a ledge school in practice, like we've talked about.
Yeah.
Dude, you want to talk about hole buzzards, like Milliken talked about? Dude, if
Horrible.
you're scanning a ledge and you turn your
if you
boat,
turn your boat,
fucking 8 people show up
yeah,
from nowhere.
That's-
You're like, what the fuck?
if you
Great, glad you guys are here. Anybody have a booster pack?
That's literally. How do you?
no, you
How do you? They just like follow the boat.
No,
like,
on it.
They'll be
this
across
is a
the
real thing.
lake.
This is a real thing. Like
That's
It
fucked
happened to
up.
me on
if
Eufaula.
if you make a swerve, because I warned you about this.
Yes. He literally warned me about it. I
I'm
tried
like-
it once. I was like, that was a mistake.
If you don't go on a straight line, if you're confused at what you saw, you just put a waypoint down and you come back like a couple hours later and make another straight line. Because if you swerve and turn around,
I'd be doing
Oh,
fucking
he's
figure
turning.
eights just to fuck with you.
and,
found 'em.
like,
He found 'em.
He found him. That's where they're at. And people will be like waiting their turn to graph it. Like,
Oh, I do see him too.
oh yeah, I found him too. I want to scan this, and they'll come in and scan it on you.
Screenshotting
Whether
the
it's
graph.
carp, catfish, doesn't matter, or bass, they're gonna come scan it. They
Dude.
will find you.
Teal, dead serious. When I was at Eufaula 2 weeks ago, then we'll go there. But I was at Eufaula 2 weeks ago, graph this ledge. I'm like, oh, there's a couple there. And I see nobody. I'm like,
Yes.
I'm safe. And I like turn around. We make 2 casts on it, catch 2 3-pounders. I'm like, we're good. The moment I'm picking my trolling motor up, a guy comes from nowhere, drives directly up to me. And I looked at the boat and it had a wrap on it. And I was like, oh, like, I think that's Justin Lucas. And me and Lucas had been talking in practice. And I was like, oh, he probably just wants to chat. So like I pull up and I like go to idle by. It wasn't Justin Lucas. This guy literally idles right to where I was, throws his trolling motor down, hits spot lock, and starts casting.
Yes.
And I was like, holy fuck, that was insane.
Yeah. It's bad. It's bad.
Like you gotta
Really bad. You gotta be
practice
really
is a
sneaky on
strategy.
how you graph things, how you like let off signals.
I don't love
Like
that.
there'll be certain guys like Lambert
I
where
feel like a sheltered child that just like saw his first porno. Dude.
Like, dude,
Like,
if you scan by him, don't touch your
it's
graph.
gross.
You
That's
got
just
it. You got to
gross,
scan
dude.
back way later.
That's gross.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yes.
you can't reach up to
'Cause
touch your graph.
if
You
you
see them and
reach
you're
up-
like, shit.
Yeah.
And
That's-
you just
that's
gotta
a
keep
cue.
going.
That's a cue because guys are
Yeah.
I heard a beep. That was a waypoint. And they're like, it's crazy. It's pathetic.
It reminds me of like Finding Nemo, like those seagulls. Like mine,
Yeah.
mine.
Yes.
No,
that's it.
That's
Mine.
and there's like
you hit it.
There's like 50
mine,
to 60% of the field that does that.
Mine.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, Cody, Kentucky Lake.
Anyways, Kentucky Lake. So I know nothing about ledge fishing at this point in time. Not a goddamn thing. I've done it like twice. And my buddy is I have to do well in this tournament to qualify for the tour. I'm like in 4th place or 3rd place in the points, like right on the bubble.
If you ain't first,
You're last. And I'm like, all right, fuck, I have to do well. Like, I have to get a top 20, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing down here.
This lake is dangerous and inconvenient.
Inconvenient.
But I do love fig Newtons.
So it comes down, I have my, like, schools that I think are schools, but I'm not quite sure because I've only, like, caught a couple of them, and they kind of look like the other ones, but I don't know. I
could
don't
be
know
a
what the hell
school,
I'm
could be a
looking at.
daycare. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. And I'm staying with my buddy who's lived down there all his life. And he's like, dude, don't worry about it. He's like, trust me, I've done this tons and tons of times before. Takes 5 casts to fire up a school. You can get 25 pounds in 5 casts. If you don't have them by 12, don't worry about it. You can get them at any time. I'm like, okay, all right.
I can do this.
Moon over high, moon underfoot. Moon over high, moon underfoot. Moon over high, moon underfoot. Moon over high, moon underfoot.
And I'm riding down the lake. Yes.
The bulldog ain't dogging me. The bulldog ain't dogging me. The bulldog ain't dogging me. The bulldog ain't bogging me. A bucktail, a bucktail, a bucktail, a bucktail, a cowgirl, a showgirl, a bucktail, a bucktail.
Gibble, gabble, one of us. We respect you, one of us. Gibble, gabble, one of us.
Okay.
Anyways, you got Jack.
So we're
Then
going
you get to your first spot.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm gotta get to my first spot.
Just all the mics just fell out.
Yes. So
What happened? I blacked out.
Oh my god. So I'm running down to my first spot, and my co-angler's like, "Oh, he's
We
like,
should have brought the boat.
he's like, you're oh shit, I forgot my rods. Where's my rods?" And he's like, "Oh, I saw you're doing pretty well on the points." He's like, "You ready to catch him?" and I'm like, "Oh, like." I am so scared right now, dude. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
I am so scared right now.
Feels like a lightning bolt just hit the tip of my penis.
And I ran all the way down to Paris, like without abandon.
Where
Like
the green grass
yeah,
grows.
yeah.
And for people that don't know, that's about an hour.
And
Oh, long time.
I-
That's from the top of Kentucky, north end of Kentucky,
All the
to
way
Tennessee,
to
dude.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Or as
And
the people down south would say,
From
60
Paducah to
miles.
Paris, dude.
Because they hate
You
when
went
you
from
say
Paducah
hour.
to Paris,
Yes,
dude.
yes.
Paducah
60
to
miles.
Paris.
Paris.
Been to Paducah to Paris.
I went down to Paris
Peter
one time.
Pepper back to bacon pepper peppers.
Men Paducah to
to
Paris all the way down to Paducah.
Paducah to Paris.
So I had my game plan in my mind. I'm like, I mean, it wasn't much of a game plan. I'm like, I'm going to go there. I'm going to go hit that school of like 20 fish, and then I'm going to go to this school of 30 fish, and then I'm going to work my way back up.
Basically,
Work my
we're
way
going to
back
burn
up.
this cheap Kentucky gas.
We're gonna burn it down.
I'm going to cut Jason Lambert off. Then I'm going to cut Randy Haynes
Yes.
off. Then we're going to beat on this 30 fish.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to
Jerky
drive till we
J
see a
that
rat
ass.
boat.
You ever try one of these? Hey, Lambert, you ever try one of these? And I get all the way down there. I didn't get a bite. Cast my cast my jerky J or whatever the hell, big dick, TVA bait out there. I'm thinking I'm like something special, and nothing bites. I'm like, immediately reach for like a shaky head or something. I'm like,
Any bite,
come on,
Get the shaky head.
and it's been like 2 minutes into the tournament. I'm already fucking gone.
Co-angler-
I'm already gone.
Co-anglers tweeting like fraud.
And my co-angler.
About ready to turn the jerky J into a juicy J. Jesus.
Fraud doesn't know shit.
My co-angler's like, oh, they must have moved, huh? Yeah, the current's got to turn on. I'm like, yeah.
I hope something turns on.
Do you know when that happens? I kind of forgot to
Yeah, I
look.
got a buddy at the Corps of Engineers. He said it's going to go by about 2:30, so we got about 15 minutes.
Yeah, they're running at 74,000 a day, so it should be gunning pretty good down that ledge.
It drew down about 8 inches last week.
know, just-
with that rain, I swear to God, I think they're about to start
just
to draw.
to check though, like 74,000. What are they running exactly? That's how I feel.
Yeah, like,
But don't worry, I
like,
checked the moon phase.
That's how I feel when I'm down there. Like, oh yeah, it's pushing 74,000. Then they're gonna. I'm like,
Moon overhead, moon underfoot.
What's the difference?
Moon overhead.
That's great.
moon
That's great.
underfoot.
What's that mean to me? It's pushing 74,000. 70.
Bass love me. They love me not.
It's
Bass
water.
love me.
It's
They
like,
love
there's a
me
lot
not.
of water coming.
bass love me.
that was
They
how I
love
was
me
casting baits out.
I'm Jason Lambert.
Shaky head.
I'm Randy
I'm-
Haynes. I'm Jason Lambert.
I'm Aaron Martin's shaky. Next spot.
I'm Kelly Jordan. I'm Aaron Martins. I'm Kelly Jordan. I'm Aaron Martins. I'm Kelly Jordan. I'm Aaron Martins.
Carolina rig. Drop shot. And I keep running down the lake, and it's getting to become like quite the spiral out of control up in the noggin, like the schools that I found. I don't have enough confidence to like know that they were probably bass and to be like, okay, settle down, try some other things. I'm always thinking like, well, if they're not going to bite the first cast,
They didn't eat the double cowgirl. They didn't eat the double cowgirl.
Every time I've
I'm
cast
like-
for muskie, they bite right away.
And then
Not even a follow. Not even a follow.
I figure eighted
Now-
the spot twice.
it's like
Three figure eights and out. Aaron Rodgers, that shit.
Your co-anglers in the back of the boat, like, what in God's name is that fucker doing? He's just figuring his ass. He's just up there with his
got your jerky J down there. You're like, this will fucking work, I promise.
You ever figure eight a scrounger with a jerky J? I didn't think so.
They're like,
Never
there
seen
ain't
it
no
coming.
way in hell we're gonna catch a bass today. I don't. He's figure eighting catfish out on the main river channel.
Well, I don't know. He's doing this thing. He calls it a figure eight. He just swirls the rod around in the water.
He threw the biggest piece of plastic I've ever seen. He said it weighed a pound.
size of his arm, I swear.
Every once in a while, he just pisses himself. He's
The size of both of Teal's forearms.
it's about 2 pounds.
2.5. Jesus.
So we're running down the lake, and it's like 10:30 at this point, and now I'm graphing up and down ledges, which I have no right graphing down, looking for the abandoned fish on this ledge.
Let's pretend we know what we're
And
doing. In
I'm like beeping buttons rapidly, like, yep, checking the settings here, checking the settings. Yep. He's like,
voltage is good.
he's like, did you see anything on this pass? I'm like, nope, they cleared out of that one. We got to go to the next one. And like, all like playing confident, but inside I'm like, I'm gonna fucking zero. I am absolutely gonna zero in this tournament.
Guys over there, like, I did the Wordle in 4. Just bored of his fucking mind.
It's like, I passed 3 Sudokus.
It got so bad. I would stand up and he would just keep looking at his phone because he knew nothing was gonna happen.
What's the 5-letter word for
Your
fuck?
co-angler ain't even casting.
Not even casting.
Co-angler's not even casting.
Not even casting.
He's taking his baits off. He's retying
It
them.
was, and then
He put on a crappie jig.
me looking back and not seeing him do a goddamn thing, but look at his phone is just now a whirlwind in my head. I'm like, I gotta go to the bank. I gotta throw a frog. I gotta do something.
That's like
bushes.
your
I heard
girlfriend
there's
telling you
bushes
your
on
dick is
Kentucky,
small,
like-
dude. That's like your girlfriend telling you your dick is small. Like,
it was.
it's like, your dick's kind of little.
It's
Yeah.
like It's it's
Angler's not even casting.
not
dude.
even casting.
I'm sorry, man. That's fucking ball beating.
That hurts.
And I'm like running, and I'm just like trying my hardest to keep it together. Running spots,
Will you
running
pretend
spots.
I'm doing
Sounds
well?
like me in the Champions Tour.
Oh,
my God.
dude, it was so horrible. And then I'm like, all right. Lance said, if you don't have a fish by noon, if you don't have a fish by noon, if you don't have a fish by noon, I'm like talking. I'm like, all right.
Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming.
I'm right on pace. I don't
Yeah,
have
right on pace.
I don't have a
5
fish,
casts.
and it's almost.
I
noon.
just need 5 casts. We just need 5 casts. Well, noon rolls around,
Happy place.
nothing. And I got to be in at 3:10. Noon rolls around, nothing. 1 rolls around, not a fucking bite.
Consistency.
Like 2 rolls around, not a bite. And I went to this one spot where I knew the other day I saw him in a line. I caught a 4.5 pounder on the first cast. I'm like, there
Biggest
is a
catfish in the
school
league.
around here. Guaranteed. So I'm casting shit. I'm like, fuck it. I don't care anymore. I'm just going to throw a drop shot.
I
out
don't
there.
even really want to qualify.
I don't really. Honestly, it was just kind of a joke while I did this as a gag.
I don't
I'm
even
like,
want to fish FLW
I'm a
Tour.
Musky guy, just showing it that how
Yeah,
easy this
like-
bass stuff is.
Like, I don't even think the dates work.
You got a wedding.
it was.
You want me to throw a bass lure?
I'll throw a bass lure.
You want me to throw a bass lure? I'll throw a bass lure.
I am a hockey player.
And I'm like, oh god, I roll up to the spot. I like throw everything at him. Like, fuck this.
I
got
hope
like,
this story ends with him not qualifying. That'd be
No.
so fun.
Mike Ruzioni. Who do you play for? I play for the United States of America.
That'll be all.
That'll be all.
That's all, gentlemen.
Motherfucker, that's all I had to say.
So I like take a drop shot. I'm like, fuck this. You know what? I'm just gonna put it in there. I think they're right there. I don't know if they're right there. I'm just gonna let it be in there. And if you know what, if something picks it up, and I look back and my co-angler is literally like drool coming out of his mouth.
You ever watch somebody die a boardroom?
Just zonked. Had the best nap. Had the best like 8
How
hours.
much
of
money
sleep
did
of
he
his
pay
life.
to sleep in your boat that day? Like,
He was done, gone. So I'm like
Hell of a
letting.
boat ride.
I'm letting
that's
this.
what you call a donator.
I
Literally.
That's what he tweeted.
Donator for a call.
I'm with the donator as my pro.
Big confidence booster.
Fish and catfish.
I like
Go ahead.
put my rod down and I like go to grab a sip of water and I pick my rod back up. I'm like, how much time do we have? We have like 25 minutes. I'm like, well, here we are. And I'm just thinking to my thought. I'm just in my brain. I'm like, wow,
371 to 92. I'll be the
like,
quickest
we
round home.
wasted this. I'm like, what a waste. I'm like, you are absolutely pathetic. And it had gone like minutes and minutes have gone by. And I'm just thinking to myself how like replaying the entire year in my mind.
At least the
And
cop didn't die.
As I'm about to reel it in, all of a sudden my rod like, and I had to like process the moment for a second. I'm like,
I'm snagged.
oh God.
God damn it,
Yeah.
Jimmy, wake
And
up!
I got a fish. It was
Yeah.
a 15-incher, and I flipped it in the bottom of the boat. My co-angler's like,
You done snagged one. How
like-
about that?
The old Kentucky alarm clock.
he's like, you got one. Immediately back out, throw it in my live well, flip back out there, and I'm like holding it again, like shaking, and that's what I'm pretty sure that the wiggling of the worm and the shaking of my hand. I'm like, please, for the love of fucking
The old
God.
anxiety again. I gave him the anxiety twitch, and we just fucking.
And dude, in like half the time, it went. I caught like a 2.5 pounder, flipped it back out there, caught another 2.5 pounder, and my co-angler's like now like up and about.
Now, like
And-
looking at his rods.
He
Like,
is-
he
maybe
is
I
starting-
might
Whoa.
know something today.
He has started thinking about standing up.
I'm gonna delete a
my-
tweet pretty soon.
Flip my drop shot, and it like immediately goes down. I'm like, I got him. Flip back in there, and like the bites are starting to fade. So now it's pure panic mode. We are on 4. We got 10 minutes to go. All the rods are out. We are casting swim baits, hair jigs, worms, anything, crankbaits, doesn't matter. What? I'm like, fuck. I reach into my rod box to grab another rod to try to throw at these things. And I see a mag spoon, which I had no right owning a mag spoon.
Yo,
at the
Kelly
time.
Jordan Ultimate Match Fishing Special on Kentucky Lake, baby.
Grab that motherfucker, throw that thing out. It didn't even hit bottom. And clunk, 5. Throw it in the boat. I'm like, now my co-angler is like shuffling. He's like, damn.
Some bitch.
Some bitch.
This is Skotsky. I might
How
know
many
some
minutes
shit.
we got left?
And it's down to the wire. The absolute
You
wire.
say I got 2 minutes? Damn, that derby went fast.
I lost $100 in a side bet on this. Ain't no way in hell you catching 5.
What kind of welder you use on that spoon there, boy?
Dude, sling the fucking thing back out there. 1 rip, boom, 5-pounder. Throw it in the bottom of the boat. Now I have like 5 minutes until I have to go. Call that one. Throw it back out there. Sling, wham. Set the hook. I lose like a 7-pounder. Throw it back out there. Whip, 5-pounder. Throw it in the bottom of the boat. Call. Throw it back out there. 4-pounder. Sling it into the boat. Now I have all over 4s. Run back to the landing. Made it back to the landing in 10 seconds with 10 seconds to spare.
Say 10
weighed
seconds,
22.5 pounds. And I made it.
Just never a fucking doubt, boys.
And my co-angler's like, I didn't even make a cast. He's like, son, I couldn't even get out of your way. You're calling so goddamn fast.
He's
10
at
minutes.
home telling his friend, he's like, that goddamn Yankee was moving so fast.
And,
He was up,
and
down,
Cody's like,
up, down. He throwing that.
Farmer's Almanac. Done
Doing
it again, baby.
that moon overhead. I told you.
Farmer's
He had the
Almanac.
goofiest book in his back pocket.
Moon overhead, moon underfoot, motherfuckers.
In 15 minutes, I went from the worst place in the world to catching 22.5 pounds and making it back with like 10 seconds to spare.
Isn't it the weirdest feeling when you get there and you're like, what the
And
fuck just
My,
happened?
my,
Coingler's like, damn, my buddy at Corn Engineers, they pulled it 15 minutes early today.
and my
Oh shit, we're not even Central Time here, are we?
He's calling his buddy Lance, and he's like, no
"Damn, I
fish
thought I
by
was gonna
noon.
miss
You ever
the whole
heard of no
thing."
fish by 2?
my buddy Lance is waiting for me at the bank, and he's like sees me in like a pure panic. I'm like, he's like, what happened? You get him? Like, dude, you're not gonna believe this fucking shit. This is the I'm freaking hyperventilating. Like, it was the biggest high I've ever been on. And he's like, did you get him?
You ever tried the crystals?
bass salts?
No, dude,
Oh.
dude, the key takeaway here to me is like, so you had a panic attack. Like now, when you fish tournaments, do you try to like replicate that panic attack? Like give yourself like
Maybe I should
Put
put your
yourself
trolling
in
motor
that
on
place.
high and jump out.
like put yourself in that place.
but
My
that
tournament
place.
strategy
And
now
the
is
Like
to
there's
not
this
catch a
place,
fish
then
by
there's
2.
that place.
And
You know,
we've like, and so I'll answer that. So it's funny because I know we've all gone there where we've had like last 10 minutes we get a crucial bite, but for whatever reason it happens to me a absolute lot. Like every other tournament it seems to happen where it's, well, I guess I'm not gonna have a limit today. 5-pounder. Let's go. I don't know what that is, but
It's called a horseshoe
It's
up your
luck.
ass.
How's that feel up there?
that doesn't sound like the Farmer's Almanac Musky fisherman that we saw the first half of the podcast.
No.
I'll be honest.
no.
The almanac.
So does it go
helps
both
with the
ways for
horseshoe.
you? Where like
I think
like is that confidence gone because the major period has passed and you're like, fuck, I didn't catch a damn bass during the major and I don't have a limit and now it's noon and oh shit, there's a minor. Oh fuck.
Oh yeah, I totally knew it.
How's
But
that?
never a
Well, I think
doubt.
it's-
Never a doubt.
I think as like time winds down in a tournament, at least as my brain goes, is
Like I thought the moon catches you bass. What the fuck?
yeah. It should, but sometimes it doesn't. We play with it.
Yeah,
It's like crystals.
Moon God didn't come
but
through on
I think
this
as
one.
like time winds down in a tournament, at least I do. I'm sure a lot of people do. They get more ramped up, and you get more like in tune with what's going on.
Anxious.
And for me, like I
called
get
anxiety.
I get a lot more dialed with what I'm doing as far as if you're pitching or skipping something. Like the later in the tournament, the better I seem to get. And I don't know if that has anything to do with it or if like my decision making is better because I am desperate and you just do whatever you have to do to get a bite or what. But
I think everybody's different in that sense. Like Kirk Cousins is different in the fourth quarter than say,
Aaron Rodgers.
They're both
Brett Favre.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, like I mean, I'm not a Packers fan, but I don't hate Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
I hate the guy,
but
I don't know him.
Yeah, but to end that story on that tournament, so it was funny that I thought about like what had happened once I calmed down from that day. I'm like, okay, well that I was always thinking that you threw the most aggressive thing in there first, and then lean back to like finesse baits. And what I realized was finesse baits first, and then ramping up the energy of the school, and pick it up, and then you can drop the bomb on them and catch the biggest fish of the school.
It's like a chick, dude. It's like foreplay.
Dude, it works. Because that next day was the easiest.
Think about that.
Easiest fishing day of my life. I caught so many 3.5 to 4 pound bass. It was so easy. I could go anywhere and do it. It like opened up everything.
Well,
like
dude,
made it
that's so
so
sick.
easy for me.
And
But like that reminds me of a chick.
Yes.
Like think
Yes.
about this. Like you can't just like. I mean,
Cody can.
you
just,
have to you have to hug, then you have to kiss.
But,
then
but I
you
think
have
he's
to-
saying the other way,
you know.
aren't you?
I
No,
was saying
he's not saying go
my
in for the
mind-
kill right away.
My mind was, okay, caveman, we go in for it.
Oh.
That's what I was thinking at first. But then what I realized was
Lick the nipple
we
before you
have
fuck
to-
the ass kind of thing.
We have to text. We have to court.
Yeah, he
we
was
have
saying
to warm
he
the
wanted
oven.
to throw the big cheddar right away.
Yeah.
But he
Anybody have a
realized
pen and paper?
he wanted to throw he wanted to throw the main course right away, but
Right.
he realized that they maybe wanted a few snacks.
Maybe some
before-
appetizers.
I think
a little
that's
bit
a
of
really
nachos,
good way
a
to
little
put
bit
it.
of cheese
Yeah.
curds, you know.
And-
Appetizers.
Does this work
Yeah.
all the time?
And
Appetizers.
it works so damn well. Like as soon as I could figure out, okay, I'm just gonna hold this in here for a little bit. I'm just gonna let you watch it, and if you want to bite it,
I
you
do
can
that
bite it.
all the
and
time.
then once the school got just a little active, I got one bite. I could throw back in there until like if it hit again. As soon as it hit the bottom, if I got a bite within like 10 seconds, like, oh, we getting warm, we getting someplace, and throw back in there. If it hit bottom and they bit immediately, I'm like, mag spoon, whoop. Boom, you could catch like a 5-pounder or like get a good one to bite. And it would open up the school for the big ones to bite because now you have like the frenzy going
Well,
on.
and that's like
Schooling fish, there's a sorry.
I was gonna say that's like when I went down and started fishing ledges. I talked to Carl about it because you always hear of like 6XDs, 8XDs, 10XDs, like crankbaits, mag spoons, all this shit. And he had said the same thing where he was like, dude, just absolutely do not throw a crankbait the first thing you throw on a school. Because he's like, you will pull them literally all off the ledge.
Yeah.
He's like, you might catch one, but then they're all going to follow it because they're curious.
Pull 'em away.
And then you're screwed. He's like, you just can't do it. Like, you gotta kind of, like Cody said, you got to manage it. You got to kind of warm it up. You got to get them ramped up.
For sure, dude.
Yeah. And like if you can, once you, like that opened my eyes to ledge fishing, what managing a school is like and what feeling out a school is like. Because I know I do it almost like while we were fishing. If I would catch a fish, I would almost drop the rod immediately and throw something else.
Yeah, so
out there.
one of Cody's most unique traits from fishing with him a bunch is he is the only person I know who will catch a 5-pounder on a bait and set it down and throw something else the next cast.
Well,
He
that
literally-
depends. Is his bait fucked up?
No,
Like, by the
it'll
time,
no, like
his
he'll
bait's
catch
good to
he'll
go?
catch a 5-pounder on a blade bait, put it
Okay.
down and grab something else. And I'm like, why are you doing that? And he's just like, something different, just testing. And that's like, I mean, we'll dive into it eventually with Champions Tour, but like, one thing I've seen from video and people and like doing a lot of media is the best anglers I've ever seen, they're always testing a bite. They're never like, okay, this is what it is. They're always testing it. And that's like what Cody does all the time. Like I can be smashing him on a football jig on a rock pile and he's just like, football jig, catches one, he's like, how about a blade bait? Catches one, he's like, okay, now how about this swimmer? And he's just completely cycling through baits 24/7. And I'm like, bro, they're eating a football jig. He's like, but what if the big one wants this? And that's like, I think it's a Musky mentality.
Yeah, you're always trying to catch, because there is one in that school. You just have to, like, in my mind, what I've seen on ledge fishing, you have to just get them warmed up enough and get her like frenzied enough, and she will bite that bait, but you got to get that school worked up enough and that fish worked up enough.
That is like the core of my soul, is them schooling fish. And
Yeah.
James has probably seen me switch out rods like way too many times, but there was a Champions Tour on Minnetonka where I just had a horrible first half.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second half I had a good
Yeah,
draw,
I
and I
remember you
picked
lighting
a
'em up.
spot and I lit them up, but it was 5 baits.
Yeah.
I'd throw one, I'd catch a fish on it,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd throw a different one,
Yeah.
set that one down, and I'd have a 5 bait rotation, and I would never throw them the same thing.
Yeah.
And I would get bit every
Yeah.
single cast. And I swear to God, it started out, I would throw the same bait back and wouldn't get bit for 2 casts. And then I would
Yes.
throw a different one, and I would get bit immediately, right? So then I started to figure out, okay,
Yes.
I'm gonna throw this one, then this one, then this one, then this one, then this one,
Yes.
and they bite every cast.
Yes.
And you let that bait sit there, and you rig the next bait
Yeah.
for them while your bait's sitting there. By the time you have that bait rigged, you have a fish on that. And the first time I ever saw that was Tim Schroeder, actually,
Yeah.
on Lake
Schroeder's
Minnetonka
a
with a
monster.
jig worm.
Yeah.
And he was maybe even throwing the same thing at him, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
But he would let his jig worm cook and re-rig his other jig worm
Yeah.
and just sit in the driver's seat. And by the time he'd have his other jig worm re-rigged,
That one's
He-
got a fish on it.
and he would have like a 3-rod Todd going
Yeah.
with it. And schooling fish, to me, it's so interesting. To me, a school of bass is kind of like similar
comes
to
a bad
one
analogy.
smallmouth. Similar to one smallmouth,
Mm-hmm.
to me. One smallmouth is similar to me as a school of bass.
Yeah.
And it's like 4 baits to catch one
Yes.
smallmouth.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But anyway, rant over.
No,
Jules.
that's I was fishing a tournament, or it was a tour event in Chickamauga, and we were fishing.
Didn't follow the whole.
I had a school on the ledge, and it was just like that. Because I figured I could go small, go big, go small, go big, go small, go big.
Just don't go black. You'll never go back.
Right, obviously.
It's a
And
good color, though.
but it was
So
the
good you don't
same
go
thing
back.
you were talking about. Like, I'd go small, and then I'd get them ramped up, and I could throw something and get a big one, but I couldn't throw back again the same bait and get another big one. And it took me a couple times because it takes time to get that back going again once you kill it.
Right.
And so it took me enough times where I'd get some heat and then I'd kill it. I'm like, fuck,
Right.
I can't. I'm like, what do I got to do to figure this out to keep it going? And it was that. It was the first time it was a hair jig. And then I'm like, what if I just drop that and pick up start stroking a big jig? Another big one. Throw that down. Like, pick up a crankbait. Oh, I got another one. Throw that down. And then it will slowly dwindle off. But you just have to know how to manage those fish and get the most out of each time that you're there.
Cody,
To your point about the... Go ahead.
I was just gonna say we haven't talked that much.
Mm-hmm.
You maybe have picked up on it. I am so much different than all 3 of you in how I fish. Completely, yes. I don't think about any of the shit you guys are thinking about.
Yeah.
I just go fishing. I mean, I sort of do. I try to.
But James is
He's
like
what
the
we
best,
call an
most,
el natural.
well,
Yeah.
I
Natural
just,
fisherman,
I don't
natural.
know. Like if I switch rods, it's because I go, that one's kind of fucked up, and I just pick up the other one.
And
And that works, dude.
Yeah, and
that
there's a
works
lot
for
of
you.
I think there's a happy medium. Sometimes when I hear you guys talk, I'm like, God, you guys got to be so in your fucking heads.
Sometimes.
But I totally get it. Like,
Totally.
sometimes I should be doing things more efficiently, should be thinking of some of that shit, and I'm just like, oh, they'll eat it.
And there's a lot of times where like the other side of thinking works way better because we stumble over our own feet and we way overthink.
It's just so interesting to me hearing, and me and Teal fish together, and it's just like I just like giggle. I like his thought process throughout the day. I'm like,
James is like,
James is like, you think?
He's like, why'd you switch baits? I was like, because that other bag ran out. like, I don't know. I ran out of that drop shot color started working. Why'd you do that,
dude? That's gangster.
It's
I like it.
Because I just don't have any more in that bag, and this was in the day box.
And James whacks, dude.
Yeah.
He fucking
does.
kills it. So like,
but
there's a lot of ways to skin the cat. But if
I think just
schooling fish, though, to me is if you're like those schooling fish guys, it will fuck you on like a James Chapman style of fishing because of that. Because I've had a school where you're throwing the same bait, 3 different weights, 3 different colors, and having the same thing that you're talking about.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's a matter of you throw the same one in that you just caught one on, you don't get bit. You throw the lighter or heavier one in a different color and you immediately get bit.
Or there's times where, say, you misread a school and someone's just throwing a productive bait that gets bit, constantly, and the result is you do much better than we do, or like in that frame of mind, like you do a lot better than we do because we just I don't know.
Also think I fish
screwed ourselves.
For me, I just know that I fish my confidence baits.
Yeah.
So like if I were to
100%.
switch baits, I would just be switching baits too much. Like, Like bounce. Okay, this color don't work. Or like this thing doesn't work.
You're a very confidence guy. Like you stick to what you're confident in.
Yeah.
I like this bait, and they're gonna like it too. Goddammit.
Yeah.
Like I'll convince them this
Like-
is the
like
best
when-
goddamn bait I got.
Like James, when you and
I
I were,
agree with that.
You and I were on Eufaula, and we're like, we're gonna get him to eat something but a plum apple worm. When we went out tournament day, guess what we had rigged up? A fucking plum apple worm, because no matter what, they've seen 10 million of them, and they're like, I like this plum apple worm.
If they like plum apple, I like plum apple. I don't give a shit. Me cast this, you cast it, baby. Let's fucking throw it to them. I don't care. I read 10 fishing reports on the way down, and they said plum apple.
Yeah.
I bought 10 packs of plum apple, and for God's sakes, that's what they're getting.
I am not buying another different color.
Don't give a shit. I'm not wasting my money on that.
I would be like, I'm throwing a plum raspberry.
Dude,
you know
And
what
that's
I mean?
what's, dude, what's
Throwing a
fucking
plum
crazy, Teal?
raspberry,
What's crazy,
dog.
Teal? We had plum, and one of us put it on, and like I threw it the first time,
like-
they wouldn't fucking touch it.
No
You
apple
throw
in that
plum
bitch.
apple in,
No
and they're
apple.
all in.
Like,
And you're
too much plum, not enough apple.
We look at each other, and I'm like, this is so fucking stupid, dude. Like I'm not even trying to understand this.
I don't care. Like I just like, do you want plum apple? We're giving you plum apple.
That's the thing. They don't even care which brand worm it is. They
am
just
I-
want plum apple.
Who am I to judge?
Didn't want salmon. I said it 4 times.
Exactly. The other one, like, what was it? The first Alabama tournament. Lay, the fish that I caught on that random river drop.
So we go to Lay Lake to fish the ABT 100s. And it's January, and we're like, yeah, we're gonna get
27
away.
degrees
Yeah, we're like,
outside.
we're gonna get away from the cold. We get down there. It is raining in 36, which I would take snow in 25
Oh, yeah,
every
100%.
fucking day over that.
It was so cold.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Try finding a largemouth on Lay Lake when it's 30 fucking 4
Yeah,
degrees.
you
out.
think that'll
That's a high.
Some people struggle finding one when it's 65.
You think that elite event was
not a
bad?
chance.
How many people
James and I
zeroed
had
in
horror
elite?
stories,
Oh,
but
it was
like
horrible. It was
to
so
James'
zero on Lay Lake year round, dude.
to James's point. So that morning we're like, I was like, I got a few bites on this bridge. So we run to this bridge and start on this bridge. There's 8 fucking boats on one bridge, half the size of the Arcola.
Seriously. We're packed in there like
There's
clinging
two
to
guys
life.
on this side. There's one guy on that corner, one guy on that corner. One guy's kind of in the middle of it.
Not
There's
a real
crappie-
chat. Yeah,
There's
not-
a crappie angler in the middle, just fucking stroking 15s, just having a ball.
the crappie angler.
Got the old spider rig going.
He had like 30. He had so many rods. You can have as many rods as you want.
Are you serious?
And they're all bent over.
Dude.
And he's just fucking piled.
He was like
I don't know
two.
which one to grab.
He was like 2 behind. I bet he had over 10 pounds for his biggest 5 crappies. This dude was stroking him, and
His crappie bag beat half the bag.
not even half. It was like 80%. It was like 11 pounds cash.
Yeah. So
This dude
James
was
and I get to
cracking
this.
him.
We get to this bridge, and we're like, motherfucker. Okay, everybody knows this bridge, and we're like, well, we're from Minnesota. I have no idea what I'm doing. We caught 7 pounds of spots. Nobody else set the hook. We're like Minnesota guys, just like, there's another one. Oh my God. And it's like, granted, it's a fucking 13-inch spot, but nobody else is setting the hook. And we're like, everyone's staring at us.
It was
and
like
we're-
50.
That's 13 inches bigger than the one you got. Oh, wait.
And James is looking at me. He's like, this fucking sucks. We're in Alabama. I don't know anybody. I'd be chirping so hard right now.
I was talking to the fucking
Guys
crappie
want
fisherman the
breakfast?
whole time.
Crappie guy's stroking him. He's like, oh, you got another? We're like, yeah, it weighs half of what yours
I was like,
is.
hey, you want to trade that one? Identify as a bass.
But so we leave this bridge and we run up to, like, the best way I can describe this is, like, if you've been on the Mississippi River, there's sand drops.
This
On
is
the
my
Coosa
favorite.
River, there's not really sand drops. And it's this flat that just, like, I don't know, it's probably 200 yards wide and,
Oh,
like,
it's like-
long as shit.
Like
And
4
he-
miles long. Like,
Yeah,
not
4
like
miles long. And we
long.
pull up to it, and he gave me the waypoint, and I was like, I don't know, you're on the boat, and we get up there, and he's like, yeah, I don't know, I was kind of just chucking the chatterbait along. And we're just working up this we're just working up this sand flat, and we get to his waypoint, and he's like, I don't know, it was kind of over here. And he chucks, he's reeling in, sets the hook, we net it, and he's like, that's the same fucking spot.
I'm like,
a 3 1/4
I'm like, I
pound
told
spot.
you it was right there. I have no idea why it's there, but it was right over here.
That is my home.
I was like, should we fish anything else? He's like, at this point, no.
James is like,
Now that's the one we came
this
for.
is just like Waska. This spot is just like Waska.
We literally like had to big motor in, like fucking tilt it all the way up putter, and he's like, where are we going? I'm like,
James like, no one found this bass.
and then he wants to go like, because the obvious spot is like there's kind of a cut that goes in his cove, and like you could tell that he like naturally wants. I'm like, no, but he was like out here in the middle of nowhere.
So I put the trolling. I idle up to where I think is good, and James puts it down. We make like 2 casts, and he's like, no, but it's over here.
But like he was
And then
out.
he just goes back out into the middle of nowhere.
We're just casting in the middle of this giant sand flat, and I can just tell Bart's like, we're wasting so much time right now. Because, I mean, it was like, I'm like, I don't know, but I caught 2 over there, and they're good ones. I don't know. And I was like, it was like right, and I swear it was that cast. I was like, it was like right there. I told you. I knew it.
yeah.
I knew it. And it was like a 3-something,
yeah, it was
And
a
we
big.
went-
It was a huge spot. It was a big fucking.
and we
spot.
weighed like 11.
Well, yeah, and then
I gotta go.
we.
I gotta go.
This is a lesson for like fishing down south.
yeah.
We run up the Coosa. We run way up the Coosa River to this shit I had found. And we pull up to this like little point break or whatever, and we're just stroking
Where
like
a little creek came in.
yeah, Little Creek came in, and we're stroking like 1.5 to 2 pound spots. We are making maybe a 0.04 call every once in a while.
Remind you, it's 36 degrees, and I'm freezing my fucking
He's in the
ass.
passenger seat, and
In
we
baseball,
just drove
that's a quarter mil.
35
In
miles.
baseball, that's a quarter
And I'm
mil.
over there just getting
batting
splashed,
average.
trying to
Yeah.
weigh these fish. I'm soaking wet,
That goes on the
having
contract.
no fun.
on the record.
And then we're sitting there, and we're like, dude, we're in Alabama. We have to.
signing bonus.
Statistic.
You guys are autistic, I think is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What were we talking about? I'm
No, so we got up to that point, and we're making those tiny calls, and we look at each other. We're like, we're in fucking Alabama, dude. We got to weigh like 14 to 15 pounds. So we go run some other random bullshit, get in. we take 30th by like 0.23
It was like less than a half
from
pound
a
per
check,
third.
and we're like looking at each other. We're like, we probably could have sat there and called up too.
Because it was
Definitely getting a check.
It was interesting because you have no idea, like, cash rent. Like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know it's going to take.
All the locals are like, 0.2.
Well,
Point two.
You know it.
0.2.
You know it's going to take 18
Yeah,
minutes.
baby. 0.2, baby. Kusa 0.2, baby. Yeah, baby.
But, like, you know it's going to take 17 to 20 to win.
Right.
But who would have thought 11? Like, in Minnesota, if it takes 17 to 20 to win, 15 takes a
yeah.
check.
Yeah.
And it's like 11 and a quarter takes. You're like, what? Because you feel so far from 17.
Yeah, there's not a chance.
That you got to keep running other shit.
There's not a chance.
Point three.
but it's
oh, motherfucker.
It was like 40 teams didn't have a limit. And we're like,
That's 1.5.
Yeah, exactly.
and the team that won caught 5 bass all day, soaking a wacky Senko in like the back of a mud creek.
How many cigarettes did they smoke? Do you?
I
plus or
fished.
minus?
I fished through there like the day before practice. Obviously, didn't get a bite, but how slow? If they caught 5 and they fished in there all day, I'm like, how in the absolute fuck would have I found that spot?
Like me and James looked at each other. And we're
I
like,
got
I wouldn't have
70
wanted to do that anyways.
70 miles of river to fish, and I'm gonna be like, yeah, no, this looked pretty largy. Like, we should soak wacky Senkos for 8 hours.
First spot they roll up to. Yep, this is it.
I mean,
I'm going to throw at this stump for 3 days.
but you know, they probably knew they'd winter in that. You know, it's a warm wintering spot for these largies.
10 minutes at a time.
But it's like, there's no way we win that tournament.
Meanwhile,
No
we
way
see,
Sip his soak.
meanwhile, we see Swindle's video
my
like
God.
jumping
Oh, yeah.
stumps and shit, going somewhere else for like third
He
or
was-
whatever.
he was way
got.
up by the dam.
Way
or
up the
whatever.
Coosa, yeah.
Way
Yeah.
up the Coosa.
All right, let's take it north. Adam, you've been able to film a lot of tournament wins over the last few years.
I have.
We call him the fluffer of the Classic Bass Series.
What's that
Is
like,
that what I
dude?
get?
I haven't. I've only gotten to see things from my boat and my casts.
Yeah, so it's
Oh yeah, you
dude, it's really well. I got to film you almost win one.
see, you're
But
kind of
it's-
a fluffer.
Yeah, I've
Almost.
been lucky enough to film.
You almost got off.
I've filmed a couple boats getting one and quite a few events now. And dude, it's super cool. Like I would never be able to do the co-angler thing. So the filming for me has been like that's my co-angler, I guess, as I would
Learning
say, like
experience.
learning experience, because like
Well,
I get a film
It's like the
everybody on
co-angler,
their
but
best
you
day.
get to
See the
film
best ones.
I get
Yeah,
to see them
the
on
good
their
ones.
best day.
Yeah, it's like co-angler, but like,
But
no, not
can
that
we-
guy.
can
Nope.
we- can we get-
redraw?
Mm-hmm.
Redraw.
Can we get
Noah Schultz. Yep. I'm gonna co for Noah Schultz today.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
I'm gonna
And,
co for Matt Peters today.
Yeah, it's honestly nuts. But like with it all, it's I mean, obviously like I fish tournaments all around the state and everything too. But with the Champions Tour, what's really unique and has opened my eyes is like I know a lot of the spots that do really well in Minnesota for 5-fish tournaments. A lot of those spots don't play in the Champions Tour. So what's really unique is when you get into the Champions Tour and go around, all these guys are fishing all this unique stuff and different things, and it almost just gives you confidence that like bass live all over a lake. Like, so they're just doing, different things everywhere, and you're like, okay, there's bass over here, there's bass over here, there's bass doing that. Like, it's not even a spot thing. It's just like this guy's fishing docks, this guy's fishing an inside weed edge in July, like, and
Yeah.
just weird stuff like that. And they have so much confidence when they're doing it that it's really unique. And like, I mean, dude, filming guys winning a boat is like the adrenaline rush I got at Kentucky Lake when, a few weeks ago. That was the craziest thing I've ever felt in my life. But the adrenaline rush I've gotten from filming guys winning boats, like you get secondhand in that because like you get like invested. And now we have 2 other guys, Brett and Adam DeMarkey, who help film them. And we all say the same thing. Like when we start out with a guy, you probably notice that on the trail. Like if a guy is with a guy in the morning, I always make sure they're with him in the afternoon because you have camaraderie. Sure. And it's like you've worked together already. You've kind of done this. Like you know each other. And like we get invested in it. And we want our guy to win. And we're texting behind the scenes. And what's crazy is we can always tell for the most part, we can tell who's going to win because we're like, this guy's spinning out. Like it's like he's running out, and then like good old Noah Schultz.
Every time.
Like in the last hour, we'll get a text and we're
basically
like,
if you're not with Noah Schultz,
yeah, like, you can just you can get a text and you can just be
that
like,
camera guy's like, I got Noah Schultz, fuck you.
Yeah, you can be like, you can see the sparkle in his eye almost of just like, okay, he's on it. Like it's gonna happen. Like when we were at Serpent, I was like, Noah's gonna win. And he was in like 5th at that time, but you were just like, he's going to win. Because everyone else was doing like their same stuff all the time, and Noah's just bounce it, different thing, gets onto a thing, does it for an hour, stops working, goes to a different thing. Like it's really cool to see it all transpire and just the different styles of everyone. And like I said, filming everyone on their best day, like filming Dave Larson last year when he won on Vermilion. Dude, it was awesome because no matter how much, and I'm sure Dave's listening, no matter how much Dave says I was calm, Dave was not calm. Like, Dave was freaking out. Like, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, I think he's going to win. But he's like throwing a hair jig and he's like reeling it back and he's just fucking like just
that was all in the technique. That was
I'm like, I don't know if they like this or not, but they're eating it, and it's totally by accident.
What you gotta do with the hair jig is give it a little bit of
technique
concert
that day, like
shake.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it's really cool. I mean, I guess being anglers, like, what else do you guys want to know? Like, obviously not spots or anything, but like things I've seen that like you're curious on.
How'd each guy win?
Like,
yeah, how'd that go down?
Yeah,
every single one of them.
So here's the other thing.
I want to know.
Well, here's the thing. When people are like, "Oh, you know all the spots," it's like you see the same thing I do. It's a camera. Like, I film it all.
I don't see the same thing you do. I'm not in the boat and see like,
you don't.
Yeah, you're right here.
You don't see the.
You're right here.
You don't see the adjustments.
I don't see that.
You don't see the adjustments.
I don't see any of what you see, dude.
Yeah,
I think you feel like
lake.
a coach
you see
almost.
That's pretty close.
Yeah,
as
I
you're
see
watching a
I
player.
see water.
Yeah,
some of the same things.
Yeah,
you're like above
find
everything.
common
You're
ground.
watching
Yeah,
it,
find
and you're like,
common
oh,
ground.
you
Yep,
probably should
common
have done this, or like you think like, oh, maybe you made a mistake here.
Yeah,
and they have to figure it out in real time.
Yeah, like you can. It's very cool to see like when you see someone like starting to spin or like, I don't know, maybe that they're making the right decisions obviously because they won, but you can tell when like they've stretched something too far.
Yeah,
and you're like
leaning on it too hard.
Yeah, you're like, bro, just stop. Like we gotta do something else. Like I know what's happening right now. This is year 4 of me doing this. I know exactly what's happening. Noah Schultz is catching you. Like been through this process. And it's like you gotta do something else.
Hoping and praying.
And like Teal,
don't rub it in.
Teal made
I didn't have any dock rods, dude.
Teal made a very good adjustment.
I needed to dock fish.
Dead honest, I thought Teal
23 rods in this boat, not one can fish a dock.
Dude, I was ready to fish a dock, and all my dock rods were fucked because my anxiety fishing.
I've got 23 rods in this boat. None of them know how to cast towards a dock.
Anxiety, dude.
Like Teal,
totally
with that, like why I thought you were gonna win that day is like you've talked about testing, or what's your
staying
slogan?
positive and testing
staying
negative.
positive and testing negative. So it's
good
like
theory,
you were,
hard in reality.
I credit Justin Bjork for that. Shout out Jut.
You were doing
Jut.
that
hey,
whole
Jut.
day.
Haven't seen you in a while, Jetty.
And that's literally what Noah does. Like Noah's not good at necessarily saying like you're like, why are you so good? And he's like, I don't know, I catch bass. Like
I love that.
I don't know if I've ever even asked him that.
Yeah,
why
or
are you
like
so good?
how what's the key? How do you win champion tours or whatever that type of question is?
Here's the deal. I wake up in the morning, I piss excellence.
The view from my end watching it is that guy can be 20 pounds ahead of everyone on a pattern, and he will go check something else. He is always checking different patterns.
Yeah, but how do you get 20 pounds ahead of everybody? That's what I'm struggling with, you know?
Yeah, well,
that part be cool.
But
you'd be really good.
one thing Noah does,
Anything easier than that?
one thing Noah does
He's
too a
whatever
lot.
he did.
A lot of times he comes from behind.
Yeah,
He figures
I've came from behind.
we've noticed that.
he figures it out as the day goes on, and that's from figuring out a bite, and that's where you see guys fade. Is they're just running one pattern, and then the period switches, and that pattern isn't running where they're going to now, so they're just trying to stretch it, and that rarely works unless it's a really big grinder. But that tends to be what I see is just guys who are very open to like, I haven't caught one here, but I'm going to go there.
Bud Light drinkers.
Yeah, exactly.
Real open.
And like with Thompson, like Thompson's crazy to film. Just because Matt Thompson, I don't think I've ever gotten in a boat with Matt Thompson and been on a spot where I've seen any other angler. Like he's just fishing weird shit all the time.
I love that. That's awesome.
It's
That
so
is
cool.
cool.
That's what
It's
I
so like there's
He's a musky guy like Cody.
I'm dead serious. That guy has not caught a bass behind you. Like he is somewhere else. Because whenever we have to find him, we're like, "You're where?" And we go run over there. We're like, "Okay."
It's always so funny when you
That's
hear the
cool.
update from the marshal, like, "Oh yeah, Matt Thompson caught like a 5.5 pounder," and you're like, "Oh yeah, it's fucking cool." Like,
Of course he did.
Of course he did. That's the biggest he's got, and then it's like, oh, somebody
That's
beat
it?
it. Like
That's it?
Vermilion, I think he had like big bass for like 4 pounds, 14 ounces for a little while or something.
Yeah, and then he caught a 6.
Well, yeah, somebody beat him, and I'm like, oh man, he's losing his touch, and it's like, oh, Matt just caught a 6 pounder, and you're like, oh yeah, on Vermilion, because there's 2 of those in the entire freaking lake, and you just know, like knowing him, that he caught it, and like one part of him was like, God damn it, I don't like. Another big fish. Like he's like, this is getting hard to replicate. He's like, I got another.
I'm getting known for this.
I only have 2 of these.
This is gonna be hard to keep up.
Yeah.
And catching another one's gonna make it harder in some ironic, weird way.
Well, dude, and
I think
watching-
he's feeling the pressure this
And
year
then he
with
did
that.
it on goal
For sure,
again.
dude.
Like, what did he go 3 for 4 last year? It was unreal.
On Big Fish. So what's crazy to me is how people say Champs Tour is a little fish tour, and Noah actually brought this up. The Moolah Cup top 2 was Matt Thompson and Noah Schultz.
Yeah, it's
And
you
those
have to
2
have a
were
good
like
average.
Noah Schultz won more events than any other angler, and Matt Thompson won Angler of the Year, and they had the biggest bass of the year as well. So it's like, is it about the smallest? And granted, I love fishing for 5. In fact, I almost prefer it. So
I certainly
just want to
prefer
clear that up, okay?
I think
But like I've told, or sorry, Cody, go
you're
ahead.
good. No, I was gonna say I think if you're a good angler, you're gonna catch everything.
Yeah. Well, like I've told you, Teal, is the guys who are really good in Champions Tour do their thing. They don't adjust to it being Champions Tour. And that no matter what, like every person I've ever seen come in and being like, oh, I'm going to do it this way or whatever, they catch them because they catch them. And they do it their way.
Exactly.
Like when Ron popped in and at the river almost won. Like Ron was doing Ron things. Like he didn't just go, oh, I'm going to go catch little ones. He was like, I'm going to go catch bass. And that's the way you have to be. You don't have to be like, oh, where are the 2-pounders? It's like, where are you getting bit? Like, go catch bass.
But you have to concentrate the
I agree with
entire
that.
time, which
Yes,
is so
exactly.
hard. Like that's where I struggle. Like,
Well,
I've
and
had a lot of bad events, but I've had a few light bulb moments where it's like, and later in, it wasn't until the end of last year. I've only had one real light bulb moment. But
I was gonna bring this up too because I've heard it talked about here, and I see it a lot filming. Is everyone talks about like you have to always be catching them in the Champions Tour? You do not.
you feel
I
that way.
agree.
That you
feel that.
feel like you need to.
feel like you
Because
have
if I told you how many times I've been in Noah's boat or Matt Peters or whoever's winning events and they don't catch one for an hour, it happens. Like people get off. But the thing is like what they're good at is once they get one, they get 3. And it's just continually moving and not freaking out. Like you don't. I think Shane Raveling always said it was like 4 fish an hour.
That's
So
how
it
I try
doesn't.
to break it down,
It
too.
doesn't.
James is that way.
It does not matter when you catch those 4. It doesn't matter. You can catch a 4 casts. Boom, you're good. You're ahead of pace. Or you could be behind.
I wouldn't
and then boom,
wait
boom,
per
boom.
hour.
Like
10 pounds an hour was my goal.
Yeah, something like that. But
But it doesn't sound that ridiculous.
No.
I used that for goal. It was
Yeah,
helpful.
10
I was
pounds an hour, like-
I'm a little behind.
Like 10
oh,
pounds?
we need to pick it up.
10
Yeah.
pounds an hour can happen in 5 minutes.
Because
yes,
we were talking before the tournament, and James was like, I think 10 pounds an hour is going to win. And I think Noah was just shy of it,
yeah.
and he won, and I had second. But
it's
it was like
10 pounds an hour. I mean, every lake obviously has a little bit different, what you're shooting for. But when you're out there and just try to think of it that way versus I have to keep catching them because nobody's going to catch them for 8 hours straight
Unless you're Adam Rasmussen.
Yeah, that's
I
what I
was
was
going
gonna
to
say.
talk about that too.
But-
but like
that doesn't count.
But what makes a guy throw a couch out of a house? Like,
oh,
they
we
don't
can
like
go
the
there
couch.
if you want to.
what makes a guy throw, like,
I don't even know what this story's about.
I've slept on roofs. I've done a lot
That
of
was just
crazy
a
shit.
wicked curve.
I love curves.
What
can
makes
go there.
a man throw a full table set from Home Depot off a balcony?
Oh, there's a hooker.
Cody just opened
that
a new beer.
happen-
He's ready to
happens
go.
be his wife.
Here we go.
On the
Have
table.
you ever been to Stevens Point? Or is this elsewhere?
He's
You ever-
definitely elsewhere.
You ever been to Chattanooga, Georgia?
Shitug?
Is that by Atlanta?
Shitug?
North of it. North
Oh
of
God.
Atlanta.
Okay. Yeah.
It's one of the prettiest lakes. Of
He
all
picked
time.
up an accent.
Amazing, amazing
Dude,
spot of
North
bass
Georgia
fishing.
is beautiful.
One of the best.
North Georgia is beautiful.
None of us
Don't have
college
to come.
kids knew how to fish it correctly. Confident by that because they're catching like 22 pounds every single time they go out. Of
And you
spotted
guys
bass.
showed up and you were
We
like
caught like 12.
13.
Yeah, we caught like 12.
It's a big spot bag, 22 pounds.
No, the kid,
Shitug?
the kid who I had at when I was stuck on the bridge. He's like a local hammer. He's like 18 years old. He's like, yeah. I'm like, where are you from? He's like North Georgia. I'm like, you ever fish Shitug? He's like, fish it like every single weekend for tournaments. I'm like, is it good? He's like, good. It's like, yeah, like 20 pounds of spots every time. I'm like, what? Yeah, when I was there, it was like throw a roll worm in a brush pile. But
That good sweet tea.
That
good Georgia
good.
sweet tea.
but we had qualified.
And pick peaches.
Heard about the peaches.
We had done qualified for a national championship there at Chattooga, and on day one we had a really good day, and we were sitting in, I think, third or second, and they took the top 5 to fish the bracket for the classic,
Well, you were in that.
and we were very confident that we were gonna make, like, me and Mark and I were gonna make the classic, and I was very confident that we were gonna go far in the bracket.
Oh, didn't happen.
It didn't. We had Wes Miller, who is like a legendary, Bassmaster, like videographer in our boat, who filmed Jose Wahabi and
Is
do you
that
know
Star Trek?
Spanish Fly?
Star Trek?
Spanish Fly?
Jose?
Jose Wahabi?
Oh,
Never. No.
What?
I haven't heard of him.
Yeah, you guys haven't?
You've seen
Cole's heard of him.
Spanish Fly?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Legend.
Spanish Fly is legendary.
Cole's heard of
Yeah.
him.
Legendary. And
Legend.
he was telling us like
Only
stories
time.
of
Wait
Jose
for
all
it.
day long. But
Very.
our day started off super brutal, absolutely brutal, and it got to like again 12 o'clock. I looked at Wes. I'm like, oh man, this has got to be like watching a bad TV show. He's like, no, it's kind of like filming one. No. Like
I like this guy.
this guy's kind of funny, but fuck you. We're trying our best. Well,
It's not good enough.
we sucked. I think we only caught one fish that day. I caught one on a spoon as soon as
Shitug?
on the Chattooga, and so we were staying at these like dorm apartments that the college had because they're always held at colleges, and the college party after the national championship was always really really fun.
Yeah.
How come?
So, how come? I don't know. It was pretty lit.
Because of the sweet Georgia peaches, don't you know?
Yeah.
Just chill. Still trying to figure out his sexuality. You know, I'm not sure.
Man, that'll happen.
Not quite as nice as Gainesville, but we'll get there.
We'll get there.
Pre-pronouns. This is pre-pronouns.
Pre-pronouns.
Yeah.
So we were having quite the college party for all the anglers and stuff.
Like, we caught one bass.
We caught one bass. Yeah, we're sick. But no, we went back to our rooms, and the Stevens Point guys were turning up, and we were doing we were breaking things phase of the night.
So
kind of like when
how
you're
many
3.
spotted cows deep were you?
Oh, we
at this point?
we may have been.
They've had so many spotted cows, the whole thing's black. It's now black.
We
And
drank
it's
Georgia
just a-
out of the
created a
residual
second
spotted
embargo.
cows.
We have spotted the entire cow. It is now just a brown cow.
So
They're like, oh my God, that's a horse.
we're like celebrating our suckiness on the balcony.
Like
and-
every good losing school does.
Yes, correct. One of our teammates threw a bottle and it broke,
That'll happen.
and he kept throwing bottles, and we're like, maybe we should stop. And then my partner may have thrown a table off of the balcony and broke it.
Allegedly.
I like
Allegedly.
I like how you went from like, maybe you should stop with bottles, and they're like, let's do a
Like,
table.
let's
Yes,
do it.
sir.
table.
So we hear that earlier that night there was a Florida alumni kid. I don't know. He's like, guys, we need to quiet down. There's people here trying to study.
And you're like, hey, have a picnic.
I'm like, okay. No, we won't.
Have you heard of Bush Light?
Have you heard of this? And we
Pre-lit.
allegedly threw a entire set of chairs and tables off of the balcony, and we heard a rap on the door, and it is this same
What
Florida
song was
kid.
What song?
What song?
Yeah, what rap?
Oh, there's a rap on the door. It was Haley Steinfeld, I believe. Okay. Rap on the door. He's like, excuse me, you're gonna have to pick all that up, otherwise I'm gonna have to report you to the tournament director. We're like, do it, bitch. And we just slammed the door
I'm
in his
the
face.
resident advisor.
Yeah. So we're drinking and drinking and drinking. We're drinking and drinking and drinking, and we're like
Cheers to that.
blacking out. And my tournament partner goes, "Oh fuck, that kid's a narc." He's like, "All right, quickly, let's go take the furniture from the downstairs and put it into the upstairs so they won't know." And I'm like,
it was the lower floor.
they'll think it's a lower floor that threw it off the balcony.
Officer, we could never toss it high enough to have a
And-
break like this.
And I'm like,
Sir, that'd be a death hazard. If
I'm
you were
like-
to do that from this floor.
I'm like, Mark,
no
that
way.
is so stupid. No one is ever gonna know. He's not gonna tell on us. He's like, let's just do it. I'm like, oh fuck, fine. Go down, grab all the furniture, put it upstairs. Literally at 6:30 in the morning, we hear just,
Sounds pretty
it's
good.
Hank. It's Hank, who's now the Bassmaster Opens director.
Hank Weldon.
Hank
Weldon.
Weldon. He's like, it's Hank. Open up the door.
That was like Breaking
And
Bad.
it's like 6:45 in the morning, and we just went to bed. We're like, what in the fuck?
That's where you messed up.
What in the fuck? Just fell asleep.
And
Never
Never
go to
go to
bed.
bed.
we open the door. He
Minnewaska.
pushes the door open, and there's the kid behind him, and he's like,
That's the table thrower.
that's the one. That's the one. That's the guy. And we're like, what are you talking about? He's like, I have to check your room. Like, okay. And it finally dawned on me. I'm like, fuck you, bitch. He walks out. He's like, yeah, I knew it wasn't you guys.
like, did you check the first floor?
And
those guys.
The guy's like, the kid's like, but Hank, no, I saw them.
That is a lifetime memory.
And I'm like,
right there.
Wow.
Suck on these Chinese
nuts.
Once again, allegedly.
Allegedly, obviously, allegedly. Hank Weldon, if you ever hear this, we did it.
Allegedly, though.
Allegedly, obviously, Hank. Don't, yeah.
What did you have a nickname for that resident advisor guy?
It was an angler. Was the worst part.
It was a fellow angler.
It was an angler.
Angleress.
As a fellow competitor, I really feel like
we should be respecting the properties.
yes.
They're inviting us here, and we're here as guests.
Guests.
We caught one bass.
guest.
I'm gonna tattle on you.
He's like, we caught one bass yesterday, motherfucker.
Like, oh, yeah, that was.
It'd be cooler if you won, but
I mean, but that was.
The one
I mean, that was a small.
But
thing.
then the
That was a small
alleged
thing.
furniture throwing may have not occurred.
So now I have a real question.
Yes.
oh, that's good.
Would you say sorority houses are more hospitable? Because I've heard you've also stayed at the sorority house
that
with your
Tourette's?
best boot.
You all right there, Teal?
That was Tourette's.
I'm okay.
There may have been a moment.
Back in
Was it Sigma Phi or was it Delta? Was it the Deltas?
so
It was a lick of my.
Did you
nuts.
stay at the Deltas or not? That's what we're wondering.
It was free advertisement.
we'll set the scene here.
I-
Cody qualifies for the FLW Tour after Kentucky Lake. He has to pay $5,000 of entry fees and is extremely broke,
Yes.
sleeping in the back of his truck for weeks
Trying to
in
get that-
Florida.
Trying to get that womb
Unwashed
wet.
underwear.
Unwashed underwear, doesn't know what to do with his life,
No.
living in the back of a truck.
Tinder on speed dial. Flying through those lakes.
Pre-Bumble.
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 This is historic. Working on that womb broom.
It's a numbers game. Just hit right.
Just trying to brush some puss.
It's a numbers game. Do you wait till moon under or moon over before you even open that app?
Like
Do you wait?
He's like at
It's,
12:01.
Like, does it all work the same way
you-
for
at-
you? Like
no,
Farmer's
we were-
Almanac, that shit? Like
At 12:01, they're going
We were-
feral
it's about
boys.
swiping
Start swiping.
time.
we were talking. It's a managing the school.
There's gonna be a window.
You got. We got to manage the school.
Gotta manage your herds.
Right at 9:38 p.m., they're gonna go feral mode, and we gotta be ready, boys.
You want to catch a great white buffalo? You gotta feed all the
Maybe
buffalo.
tell that one
Yeah,
outside
got it.
of the speakers.
Remember, boys, you gotta bang a few fours to appreciate the eights. So let's go.
So where'd we leave off?
You
we
were
get to
down
the
at-
sorority yet?
You were down at Seminole
Yes.
for a FLW Tour event, correct?
I was down at Seminole for an FLW Tour event, and if anyone's been down to Seminole for anything, it's only good for bass fishing. That's about it. The town,
No muskies.
there's no muskies there, and it is.
Is there a lot
it
of
is
gators?
interesting. Yes, there is plenty of gators. It's interesting that town. So I was staying at, luckily, a house of a friend, this and that. Well, as I was at that time of the time,
Get to the point there, bud.
I'm
Hey, be
trying.
nice.
If you wouldn't,
Be nice.
Sorry.
been nice.
Remember when we talked about warming up the school?
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing with
Pink
him.
fluke? What?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Catch the dumb ones.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tinder was flying back in the days. Still is flying now, but Tinder was flying back in those days, and it just so happened that
Ducks fly together.
ducks fly together.
Coal's all over it.
I'm a peacock. You gotta let me.
Roosters are crowing and the cows are calving in the pasture. Ducks fly
Fly
together.
together. But we were
We are old ducks. And ducks fly together.
Sharpening skates. That was pretty good.
D2, best movie
Yep.
of all time.
Yep. That was a good one.
Charlie
Best of all
Conway's a
time.
pussy, though.
Best
He
of all
is.
time,
He's
this
just a
He's a bitch.
He's a
No, I'm a better coach. Like, no, you're fucking 12, bud.
Hey, we're
No,
still in Seminole.
You're a pretty
Yeah.
boy cake eater.
Anyway, Seminole.
Seminole, yeah.
Seminole.
So I was
Bad,
doing the
bad
ti-
town. What were you doing?
I was
Tinder?
tindering it up, like wondering what local wretches were crawling about in that area. Then I realized
Four-legged.
Looking for beds.
Crawling around.
Looking for beds on
That,
Seminole.
yes,
Gotta remember,
And-
Buddy's been on the road for a month.
Easily. Like we are
swiping
far
right-
away from home.
He's swiping right on raccoons. He's
Yeah.
just like,
Yes,
Yes.
hoping for the best.
I might be on
And-
Craigslist for cats, but I'm just swiping. It's like, oh, yeah, we used barn cats. Good
Whole
enough.
month of hand slapping. Yeah.
I see one on there. I'm like, oh, good God, that's never going to. Cha-ching.
You have a
Alright.
match.
You have a match.
It's like, I knew I should have. That's why I pay for this. This is awesome.
Yes. 1 out of 50.
$25 well spent, baby. Woo!
We got one.
I knew I should have got, Tinder Gold.
Give him some line.
Tinder Gold.
Give him some line.
Pink flukes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
give him some line. Don't want to set the hook quite yet.
Young Tinder Premium Gold.
At this point in time, I think we were at like there was a station party or a firefighter volunteer party that we were at. They were having like a crawfish boil, and I'm like drunkenly texting this like attractive woman, I'm like, Bedelia, hey, how are you? And like a bunch of misspelled stuff.
Oh, my mate.
Immediately
How are you?
responds.
Would you
You
like
like
to have
to
the
see
sex?
homos naked?
Immediately responds back. I'm like, yeah,
I am on one.
I am killing it. Like, what are you doing? Misspelled.
Is that because
Like-
the alcohol or you're just dumb?
No, it was just alcohol.
Did you text her
James.
2 pounds, 7
He's from
ounces? And that's
Wisconsin.
what did it?
Yeah, it was 2-pounder. No, and it was just like going so smoothly. Everything was going so well. I'm like, this is the text that I'm sending should not be landing this well, but am I?
It's a bite every.
This podcast is brought to you by my brother from another mother, my tournament partner, and the best rod builder north of the equator that still has 20/20 vision, Veselka Fishing and Customs, specializing in custom fishing rods. Your custom rod, the way you want it, because it has to be your rod. However, he has a wide variety to choose from, including his all-new for 2023 custom chicken rod. If you throw the big fluff, the hairy Gary, the rotisserie dissery, the half-ounce Palomalu, the 3/4-ounce rooster biscuit, the lightener looking like D. Snyder, you're going to want to be throwing the Veselka Fishing Chicken Special Big Hair Jig Rod. Mr. Veselka spent a lot of time on this rod, and it has the perfect action to throw, hook, and land those fish that you maybe pulled the bait out from because the rod was too stiff, or had them spit it because your rod didn't have the backbone. Well, the new Chicken Special from Veselka Fishing and Customs has worked to solve both of those issues, along with superior balance and quality components. So head on over to his website, veselkafishing.com. That's VOCELKA fishing.com. Pick this rod up before it's too late, because up here in the North Country, they about to be schooling.
Hey guys, Gaff with Waypoint Angler Supply here. Just wanted to highlight the fact that we have the big bass resource right here. Obviously, everybody in Minnesota knows about Kitex and the littler swim baits like these bait labs here. But we're here to have the big baits here in the store. We got Huddlestons, we've got the dangerous swim baits, the jointed claw glide baits, and the bull shooter glide baits. But it's not only the baits. We've got big rods, big reels, big line, and all that good stuff for you guys to go ahead and chase your biggest fish of your life. So swing on into Waypoint Angler Supply and get hooked up with the biggest tackle around.
flip. It's a bite every
Am
flip.
I?
I
Wait.
am God.
Moon underfoot.
Am,
Moon underfoot.
He's like,
Am
with the moon patterns,
I-
this does make sense. They're feral right now.
am I God? I am him. I am him. I am him. She's like, oh yeah, you should come over to our house. I'm like, where's your house at? Where's your house at?
Moon underfoot.
Misspelled. Misspelled. Very misspelled.
Where's your koala cat?
Me annoying.
The scammers are like, oh yeah, we got this one for fucking
Yeah.
sure. This one might not even leave
Charge
once we
him-
take their money.
Charge him $98.99, baby.
Bing, 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 bing.
And so after the tournament of absolute suckiness and not cashing a check, she invites me to her apartment, and it just so happened to be the sorority house and the house next to the sorority house. And I texted said person, where do you want me to park? Just park it in the lawn. I'm like, I have a truck and a
Where do you want me to finish? Anywhere you want.
I didn't mention the boat part.
Okay, random
So-
lady, I will do that.
Park next to Caesar
I
and
didn't
the
men-
Greek house.
So now it's kind of coming to fruition now that
I
I've
bet
come
it
to that.
Is that her name, Fruition?
Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon.
This is
Fruition.
becoming way too easy for what I have done, the work that I've put in. This is, I'm like,
Think
there's-
about layups as everybody makes them.
Delta,
There-
step,
there has to
omega,
be-
step.
And you're driving to Florida State, just like, holy shit.
It is FSU, like, major sorority house. Like, there's something wrong. I do not deserve this.
I did not earn this.
I did not earn.
Not worthy.
We are not worthy.
We are not worthy.
So I park my boat, go inside,
Whoa,
and
whoa,
there,
whoa, whoa, whoa. You can't skip by this. You pull up, and what the fuck does it look like?
it is.
Are we talking about her?
You pull up to your.
He
this
pulls
is
up on fucking sorority row.
on campus.
Yeah.
On
You can't skip over that.
my
part.
fucking 20-foot bass boat on campus.
Like, there
Over-
is sorority row. It is literally like FSU. FSU.
Breaker 19, Eagle is landed.
There you go.
Over.
The mics do work, Cody. Good job.
Thank you.
That was pretty good.
Breaker one.
Way worse.
The fox is in the hen house. Over.
So she's like, yeah, I'm just inside. Like, I'll be out in a second. Like, just come inside. I'm like, okay.
She's like, tell you
And
that to you
still,
later.
still in my mind, I'm like, there is no way that this is real. I have done nothing for this. I have misspelled every word, and I have been hammered out of my mind while I'm texting this person.
I need you to paint the setting a little bit better for me so I understand
I'm
fully
guessing
what's
it
going
looks like
on.
a
Because
rainbow.
I've seen old school. I've seen the frat
Yeah, where'd
slash
you
sorority deal, but like, are we talking like the white Greek pillar sorority
We are talking
house?
the white Greek pillars
And
of
where-
a sorority house.
where is your
There's
boat
the
parked?
well.
How
cut
wrapped
long.
is it?
And I
It
think we're
is
talking about the
fully wrapped. We have Malone's Marine outside. Man, they are getting some advertisement for, I think it might have been, Parents' Day or something.
It was
So,
about to be.
Man, are we advertising?
And where do you pull up?
They're in the
Cody?
business of getting shit wet, so they're at the right place.
Right in the front lawn of the finely groomed Augusta grass.
Welcome to Augusta.
Call her good. Go knock on the front door.
You can hear the birds chirping.
So knock on the front
Just a beautiful
door,
day in Augusta.
and there is the sassiest bitch that I have ever seen. Like, just fucking
dude.
snarky ass face. Like, what do you want? Like,
What the
I'm-
fuck are you doing here?
Like everybody else that's come, I want to get
Okay.
laid. Which way do I go?
Like, I'm here to see.
Continue.
Wait, what?
Bro, till I get done
Let
with
him
the
get through the
story,
show. He'll show
and then
you
I'll show you the
pictures.
picture.
If I let you finish, I'm just like him.
Bart will agree with me on this one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you finish.
This is
But Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time. That,
all right. Continue,
that
Cody.
was
You're good.
not good on the ears.
What?
Sorry.
Wait.
All right.
All right. So the
What?
biggest bitch ever.
So-
and you need to get inside. You're going to meet someone.
Yep.
You gotta spread his cheeks, even if you try and get inside the biggest one. You gotta just.
All right. So this giant chick is like, who are you here to meet? I'm like,
she was
I'm
big. Got it.
I'm here to meet so and so. She's like,
big.
Every tunnel starts
Entry.
with the full of her fucking chisel.
you may.
What are you doing here?
You may enter.
Oh, Helga. I'm sorry.
You're like, oh man, I gotta
It
find
was-
a route first.
But then I walk inside, and it was obvious that I was making an appearance
Oh shit.
because
Parked his rap boat in the lawn. Oh yeah, it's weird. People seem to notice.
not college girls. They don't.
If you drive a truck and boat through the lawn,
They have no idea, dude. They
how
have no
dumb are the
idea.
girls you're trying to get with?
dumb, dude. Real dumb.
Come on, you've
real
known him
dumb.
for 3 hours. Let's be real here.
He's driving on the
Fisherman
lawn. Even they
Smallmouth.
would be like, "Is there a parade?"
Just trying to get through it.
Yeah. All right. Just let him rip. Here we go.
We'll let you finish.
And there are like, I would say 7-ish, 8 girls who are just handcuffed.
Lean forward. Don't be shy.
No, this is how they're looking. Just
Cute as hell.
You're being vetted, dude.
staring. I'm like, I feel like this is a pretty normal thing, right? Like,
Was that
kind
not
of
a
like
parking
a
spot?
guy's coming over that you vet and like
Initiation.
initiation. Like, you want that guy? Like, what is the big deal? What is the big deal here? Like, oh, not a big deal. Like, and all the eyes are just turning and turning and turning. I'm like, okay, what kind of sorority is this? Walk.
Ooh, she's coming down the
Walk.
hallway like. Here she comes.
And
You want
Like-
to see her?
literally
Show you.
She is the top of the stairs.
sitting in the living room, like all these girls are just like seething at me
You guys
And-
know the death glare.
and
Oh, yeah.
seething, absolutely seething. I'm like,
Did you ask for the
Did I-
chick's name when you got there? Like, I'd like to talk to
I'd like to-
Erica.
Bradley.
Erica.
Bradley.
I'm like,
They're like,
I'm like,
Erica.
I know I parked on the lawn.
Erica. You
is
want to
that-
talk to Erica?
but is that
Did you
a-
say Erica? Or do you want to talk to Erica? Okay.
D-
Hey, he wants to talk to Erica. Well,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry. And like, all right, I'm gonna sit here quietly. Like, as she comes down, she's like, "Oh, you're here." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm here." Walk up with her, and the eyes just like follow upstairs. Like, what is going on? And continue on.
Good night is
So,
had.
Good night is had, but light switches were turned off. Light switches were turned on.
Those are
Oddly,
the two.
I'm
Those are the
fine
two
with
ways
it.
light switches work. Yeah.
Yeah, that's shout out to
And
the
then light
Delta
switches were
Gammas.
turned
Okay.
off.
But
Light
like
switches
several
is-
times.
Several times. I'm like, oh, all right. Like, being a dumbass, I'm like, all right, whatever. Whatever, not a big deal.
Now you see me.
Well,
now you don't.
we did that thing, gone. I'm like going out of state, like back home, and I receive a text saying, so yeah, I kind of like you, but I want to tell you, like, I'm 95% deaf.
Anyway, so when's the wedding?
Yeah. So.
Oh
anyway.
no, it's long gone. She's like, yeah, big wig in some
She
company.
didn't hear you out.
Not quite.
She heard he was a tournament bass fisherman.
Yeah,
and left.
she's
'cause
like,
he's smart.
absolutely not.
I've heard enough.
She just wasn't a good listener,
Come on.
She didn't like the sounds of it.
or you just didn't have the same taste in music, or
They didn't beat to the same beat of the
No,
drum.
didn't like the same
The
songs.
vibrations were great.
She always wanted to turn up the volume
You just
on the
wouldn't
radio,
listen- just
and
wouldn't-
you were good.
Couldn't listen to him.
Dude, she's gorgeous. Gorgeous.
He'll find you a picture.
If only she could
absolutely
hear you
beautiful.
say that.
You should have told her more often.
If you'd only turned it up a few volumes, she might have had that self-conscious you were looking for.
I would love to tell the full story.
We'll
She
have
wouldn't-
to
she
tell
wouldn't
it
be
off
able to hear it
camera.
anyway,
We'll have
so
to
it's
tell it
okay.
off camera.
It's like we
Why, is
think
she
we're
blind?
like Bassmaster Live or something. Jesus.
Oh yeah, I'm live streaming this whole thing.
Yeah, dude, this is live. This is like real on the internet right now.
Yeah.
Don't
worry.
looking for a picture.
She
right
won't
now
hear
for
about
you
it
guys.
though, so it's all good.
And we're banging deaf chicks live.
Don't tell them, or do. Doesn't matter. Can't hear you anyways.
I think.
Does his eye look like he has a question mark on it?
Do you have a question,
I
or
don't
is
have
it
a
just your
question.
Do
eye?
you see what I'm saying? His left eye,
Probably.
like a backwards question mark.
Maybe.
I don't see it.
His left eye.
That's his right eye.
What's his left eye? Turn your head back.
Oh, his left
Yeah,
eye.
look at
All
that.
right.
Look at that.
Yeah.
A little bit this way. See?
Oh, now I
You
see it.
need to be
Now I
watching
see
on
it. It's a
YouTube,
light.
evidently.
Hold on,
I'll look
man.
at the camera.
It's a
I don't know.
Caucasian question mark, dude.
Hold on.
Okay. All right. What do you want to get
down
into?
just a little bit.
Do you want
Right?
to dive into Kentucky Teal?
It's,
what the?
it's some
Bro.
It's something. On
Yeah.
The light. Yeah. Rocket.
Yeah, dude. I park my bass boat in any place they needed for that.
I wouldn't listen
The
if she
right
told
side.
me to pull out either.
The right side.
I just hope both teams have fun. What?
Teal, you want to
I'll do
dive
my
in?
best.
Do you want to dive into that, and then we'll call her?
Dive into
Oh,
what?
we can
Kentucky?
call her, but she won't
Yep.
answer probably.
Then we'll call her.
We could
Sure.
we could try to call her, but she won't answer.
No,
she-
no.
unless it
she wouldn't
vibrates.
hear our call, dude. She'd miss it. Like, unless her phone's in her pocket, which she probably has a purse, like, she's not going to hear your
Oh,
call.
I bet you had it on vibrate. That's how you
That's
knew we
what
were
I meant.
calling.
Like, it's in her
I
purse.
know
She,
I was way ahead of you on the joke too.
like, all of a sudden, her purse starts.
And she's like, "Oh my gosh, who's got my remote?" Oh,
We're going to have
that's
to
my
cut
phone.
the fuck out of this. God damn it.
Sorry.
That
sucks.
part.
How-
Towards the end. For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
All right. What do you
Gotta
want?
love that cancel culture.
You can't tell a story about banging a deaf chick and expect it.
Yeah.
Not the whole thing wrong.
I
Now,
might keep
now
that
with me
part.
here
Like
towards
if
the
I,
end of the
if
night.
I could tell the full thing, it's a much better bar story than it is.
Yeah.
Dude, you can tell the
podcaster.
full thing. I ain't gonna fucking like put it out
Well-
and be like, oh.
It's more of like a, like when we're all fucked up, like super fucked
do your
up.
part.
All right.
All right. We'll end this and then we'll do it. What do you want to dive into, Teal?
So Adam, you just took second in the MLF deal on Kentucky Lake. That's pretty cool, dude. Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, it was.
You ain't first or last.
Yeah, no, that's. I thought. I will say, I thought I was gonna win. That was cool. Like that. I know Cody and I talked about that on the way home, and like beforehand, I was like, I thought I was gonna win,
Wrong.
and it was. Yeah, it ended up being wrong, but it
I'm
was.
just kidding.
What a loser.
Yeah, it was cool being down south and on Kentucky. Like, one of the coolest things. I mean, there's a few things we could talk about from it, but
You
one of the
definitely
coolest
showed me
things was,
something.
in practice, it was a cool swing of events. So before I went down, I had told my girlfriend, like I had done a handful of opens and ABTs with Chappie and a few things, and I was like, I just don't know.
ABT's a tournament trail, not a sex position.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know if I want to keep going down here. Like you had talked about earlier, you're paying to learn, and it's really expensive. And I was like, I need to get a fucking check. Like, I need something to happen. So I had told her, I was like, if I don't get a check at Kentucky or the next one, like, we're going to reevaluate. So I went down to Kentucky, and my first 2 days of practice were actually really bad. And I was staying by myself in a hotel room. And as Cody knows from traveling the country, like, it's very lonely and, like, depressing. Like, it was, like, honest to God, those 2 days were, like, the lowest point, I would say, in my fishing career. Like, I was really low. I was, like, almost on the verge of tears, like, just really not having a good time. I was like, I can't do this. This is my dream, whatever. And that Monday of practice, I went out and I was trying to do the Kentucky Lake thing. And I'd caught a few smallmouth in practice, like cranking a Sunny B and doing a few other things. But I could not find largemouth, flipping bushes or whatever. And I was like, fuck this, dude. Like, I'm just going to go out and I'm going to look for whatever. Like, I'm just sick of this. I'm sick of being by the bank. I'm sick of this. And I go out offshore and I see a little pothole. And I'm like, no way. Go over to it, throw in, set the hook, and like a 4 comes up, jumps off, tube comes flying up. And I swear to God, if anyone was within 8 miles of me on the Tennessee River, they heard me scream, fuck yeah. Because I literally, from that moment at noon on Monday till Wednesday went, I'm in. Like, locked in, this is it. I'll die on this. That's fine. But, like, I think it's going on right now. And as you guys know from up here, and smallmouth are very new on Kentucky, very new. And, well, apparently they were dealing in the early 2000s, I've learned, but, like, very new now. But I went through the end of the day, Monday, I found like 3, and I was like, okay, I have a couple. Then Tuesday, I found like 15 to 18. No, I probably found 20 to 30. I was feeling good, like going into the last day of practice, and I was staying at a place with a bunch of Oklahoma guys. And we stayed up really late one night drinking. And there was a co-angler who came into town, and him and I stayed up till like 1 or 2 having beers. And he was like, you feel good, don't you? And I was like, I feel really good. Like, I feel like I have 30 or 40 fish marked right now that, like, I'm pretty confident. Like, there was nobody around me, dude. Like, I was all by myself. And I was like, I feel pretty confident. And I slept in the next day, the last day of practice, till like 8 a.m. And it was super cool because I wake up in the morning, everyone was basically leaving. I have some coffee, I go dump in at the marina down. And I think of the Office quote, like, I wish you knew the good times, you know, before they were, or when they were happening, before they were over or whatever. And I feel really lucky that I knew they were happening because I launched. And I was fully set on going largemouth fishing that day because I was like, I need a backup plan. And I was running across the lake. And for some reason, I was like, I need to come off pad right here. And this isn't a Randy Howell, God story or whatever. Like, it's not that. Like, I was just running across this flat, and I was like, I haven't looked here. And I come off pad, and I look around, and I find 3. I'm like, oh, that's cool. One of them was 3.5. Others I shake off. I looked around for another hour. I put down 73 waypoints. And I was like, holy fucking shit. I pulled up my trolling motor. I ran 8 miles from where I was. And, like, I mean, not to be sappy or anything, but, like, I told him, like, I basically started crying, like, in practice. Because I was just like, holy fuck. Like, I knew what was going to happen. I was like, it's really weird to explain, but like, you felt it. Yeah. Like, I knew what was happening, and I was like, I'm just going to enjoy this because, like, this is going to be wild. So, yeah, day one, I had almost 18 pounds at 8 a.m. I literally stopped smallmouth fishing. I was like, all right, I'll go largemouth fishing, and then leader had 19, and the interviewers came to me. They're like, yeah, and it was probably the one cocky thing I said, but you guys know bedded smallmouth. they looked at me and they were like, so, like, is it a morning thing, an afternoon thing, or whatever? And I looked at them, and I was like, I can catch them whenever I want to. And they're like, really? I was like, yeah. Like, we're going to have a lot of fun. And the next day, I caught that 19-pound bag, and the last one I caught was that first one I caught, hooked in practice. Like, I was at, like, 18, and I looked at my co. I was like, all right, dude, I think I got one way down south. It was like damn near down by Paris. Mm-hmm. So I had to run all the fucking way down there, but there was no wind that day. Run there, caught that one, got to 19, run back in, weigh 19, and I'm in second. And that's when, like, there was a pretty big gap between first and second, and I ended up talking to Jake, and we were doing the same thing, but we hadn't seen each other. And, yeah, I told the people, they were like, well, you know, like, you have any left for tomorrow? And I looked at them, I was like, I have, because each day of practice, each day of the tournament, I ended up practicing for 2 hours because I had caught 18 to 19 pounds. And I looked at them and I was like, I have 180 waypoints I'm going to hit tomorrow, and I'm going to burn this place to the fucking ground. I'm like, I don't know how big a bag I can catch, but we're going to find out. And my biggest adrenaline rush I got in my life was the first 2 beds I started on day 3. So sitting in second, like 2 pounds back on Kentucky fucking Lake. I'm like, all right, baby, we got 19 in us again. Let's try this. Go out. My first cast, I catch a 4 3/4. Which is the biggest one that had been weighed in the whole week. And I was like, whoa. Literally look on my 360 and I'm like, that's a new one. Throw to that one. 4 1/4. I'd weighed 1 4-pounder in the first two days. And I looked at my co and I was like, fuck 19, dude. We're going to weigh 22. And I ran everything else I had. And I weighed the biggest bag of the tournament. And I just couldn't catch him. He had a 6'1" largie, but like, dude, it was like so cool because I got to enjoy the whole thing. Like, I knew what was happening while it was happening.
How many smallies did he weigh?
He weighed 13 or 14. He had a 6'1" largemouth day.
Were you by each other?
Never saw him.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Literally never saw him. Dude, like, the best way I can equate this to you guys, because, like, I'm really hoping they bring another Toyota or Open back there some way. But imagine Leash or Mille Lacs or wherever, and nobody knows they don't bet on the shoreline. And you have all the technology you do right now. That is what I ran into. And every one of those fucking fish has never seen a bait in their life.
Never been bed fished before.
Dude, I had a tube and I was just like, threw it over there. It was like 5 feet from it. They didn't care. They were like mine. Those Tennessee River smallies are nasty, dude. Yeah. They're so mean. But it was cool. Like,
Were they spawning on stumps?
Stumps and rock, any object.
Any object? How deep were they?
I had them marked from 3 to 12.
Gotcha. Yep.
And I bet I could find them deeper. Like, it's just when I ran into it, I was like,
were they easy to graph? I feel like those river smallies, again, I have not much experience on rivers, but that has to fill in that crater somewhat, like harder to like the side image or whatever. Or not really.
They were pretty easy to find.
Yeah,
that's what I'll say.
Did you catch any on musky lures?
Did you throw any bucktails?
I didn't, but they would have fucking eaten it. I could have thrown a pound. Wait, what's that giant tube you throw?
Oh, it's a monster tube.
I think they would have eaten it.
Yeah.
It's the dildo tube.
12-incher?
Dude, they would not.
For every tournament, he freezes
6-inch vibrator.
So here's the last day. So my first 2 casts, I catch those 2 4-pounders. I look at my co and I sit down on my front deck because I'm freaking out and shaking. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I cannot believe this is happening right now.
It's like, I feel
that
like
was
a 6-inch vibrator right now.
That was the first moment of that tournament that I wasn't calm. I was like, oh my God, this is happening.
All downhill from there, baby.
And then I went on to catch like 100 3.5-pounders. But
Just needed 3-4 pounders.
it was so much fun. But
Duh.
the fuck, what was I gonna say? Where were we going? What was your question?
Why'd you lose?
I don't know, something about a dildo.
Yeah, did you freeze that big tube or what?
No, I did
What
not.
size tube?
Oh no, what I was gonna say is, so I caught those 2 right away, but I was throwing a little tube, you know. So in the morning, I went to these beds, and dude, they had not seen a bait so much in their life that anything under 3 pounds, when I would get them to the boat, they were bleeding, cause like they would inhale it so far that I was like, fuck, I can't put you in the live well. So the camera boat watched me throw back 2.5 limits of 14 to 15 pounds and they were like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm not going to risk that. I'm going to catch 3 pounders. Like, it's going to be fine. And that's what was crazy, was being on a southern lake and being like, I'm going to get 70 to 100 bites today. I'm not worried literally at all. And it was super unique. Like, part of me thinks like, oh man, like if Teal or James or Hahner were down there, like they would have ran into it.
We'd have won like 3 times over.
But it was
just kidding.
No, but it was
That
like
is sweet. That's awesome.
It was, but it
Find
was
a
your own
great
thing.
finish, dude.
It was so rogue.
How'd your coes do?
Dude, so that's the best part. So my coes,
Dead last.
That's what was cool. My coes, I told him, because like,
the
dude,
shit out of it.
these
Catch a
areas
thing.
I was fishing, like I'd pull up and I had 50 beds in a 50-yard area, and like I'm trying to work up one side of it, or like there's no way like I could backboat them. Like if they casted a direction, they're gonna catch one of them. So I looked at my coes each morning and I was like, all right, dude, here's the deal. I'm fishing offshore bedders. I'm going to tell you where you can cast, and it might be literally one side of the boat, but you can cast in like up to right here. Like, I don't care. I'm literally just casting in front of me, but just don't, if I'm like, please don't throw this way, don't. And there is so many fish crawling out here right now. You're going to catch them. My co day 1, his 3rd cast caught a 4 3/4 on a Carolina rig. It was the biggest one I'd seen till I caught that one on a bed. And then my co day 2 weighed, he zeroed day 1 and he weighed almost 14 day 2, and he finished 26. He almost made the cut, which that was sweet too, because we were having a good day, and I was basically done at like 1. And
Just trying to help me.
well, dude, he had like a rat, like line burner. And he was like, God, if I could just get a 2-pounder. I was like, do you want a 2-pounder? He was like, yeah. I was like, all right, cool. Just come on, let's go. He's like, what? And I run up and I'm like, there's a 2-pounder on a bed right here. He's like, how do you know? I'm like, I caught him in practice. Just all right there, 20 feet. And he just chucks up there, catches it. And he's like, that's the coolest thing like anyone's ever done. And I'm like, you call him? like I'm ready to go. Like we're good. But yeah, like that's what was cool. Like, it was just so on that like we were able to just, dude, I felt like I wish the tournament was 12 days. Cause like I felt like I just could have done the same. Like I could have just, once I got dialed into like where the stuff was, how they were positioned, where they were doing it. Like I said, I found 20 to 50 new fish every day. And each day I was just like, well, I'm going to burn these ones down because I'll find new ones tomorrow, whatever. And it was just a blast. It was
awesome, dude.
It was so much fun.
Congrats, man.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Thank you. It was but I was telling Dane, I was like, dude, half of me was like catching up to 18, and I was like, there's some big females around here. I wonder if I could just chuck a hair jig around out here and like maybe catch like a 5 to 6 and like
Probably could.
But like, meanwhile, I'm like, I don't know. There's like 50 grand on the table here, and I'm catching 18 to 19 pounds. We're pretty tight. I think I should just keep cycling this.
Probably. Yeah.
But it was very cool,
That's
especially to do it on Kentucky Lake.
That's why no one will remember your name.
Mm-hmm.
Trey quote.
Exactly.
I've
Got
taken
second.
second before. Yep. It's a good feeling. Chapman knows the feeling.
Never taken second before, no.
Yeah, you guys have gotten
times
so
in a
many
row.
bridesmaids. I'm the king of fourths in the team trail. That's what I do. I get fourth. So it felt good to get that. I mean,
Twice as bad, I think,
Yeah.
if you do the math.
All I know is we should cheers now and end this before we go to jail.
yes.
Jail.
Thank you.
I won't
Jail.
Go, I won't go back.
I don't want to go to jail.
Thank you for having us, Teal. This was
Thank
a
you
privilege.
for coming out. This was
Chappie,
fucking
thank
epic.
you for joining.
Don't forget to sign the sheet.